Well, hello everybody. How we doing tonight? Boy, what did you think of those new deep fakes, Max? I promised you some updates.
Yeah, like so last week I'm like starstruck. I'm like, oh my god, I've got Ragnar, I've got Wolverine. You not only put me in more Wolverine stuff, more Viking stuff with purple, by the way. I saw that one too.
Yeah, I did.
But we managed to get a bearded Superman. Like I couldn't be happier. I don't deserve to be here, bro. Like that was amazing.
I
Thank
had
you.
so
That
much
was so
fun.
cool. That was
No,
so
I have
cool. Yeah, thank
I
you.
have so much fun. I have so much fun making those, and oh, every week it's just one of those things that I do because oh boy, I might be a nerd. I like to screw around with stuff like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
Max, welcome to the show. Watched your Superman. Speaking of Superman stream last night, that was a fascinating conversation, and I really liked hearing Tug's perspective. And it was interesting to hear what the other two gentlemen you had on. I didn't agree with some of their takes, but it was a great conversation. So great show last night.
Thank you so much, man. Yeah. Mark, who Legion of Comics on his YouTube channel, Mark had actually reached out to me because of some of the things, my takes on Superman and how I felt kind of personally really upset about some of the changes that were
Mhm.
being made to the
Mhm.
motto. And Mark had reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, let's talk about this because I've been reading Superman for years, and I think we could, and this was months ago, So Mark and I have become friends, even though we disagree on a lot of different comic book stuff. But
Mhm.
he's a good dude and he brings a good perspective. But you're right, Tugs was just on fire with what she was
Oh
talking
yeah.
about, and I loved having her on because it's great. I mean, I feel like between Purple, Tugs, and McKenna, we've got some, actually strong female characters in our circle here. Which
100%.
I believe is Purple. Is today Women's Day,
It is
International
International
Women's Day?
Wednesday. It is
There you
indeed,
go.
yes.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I couldn't ask for a better segue. Thank you, Max. Purple Valkyrie, how are you doing this evening?
Good evening, guys. Doing well, thank you. Hello to the chat. I see you
Yeah,
there.
it's-
We've got a hell of a lot of people in tonight.
I know, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this, and I'm not just shilling, it's a genuine interest. When are you doing that true crime show you talked about? Because I want to watch.
That is going out tomorrow night, and I am so looking forward to it. We have got a fantastic panel. One of the panelists is in the chat at the moment, a Dagger Outlaw, and we're going to have a great
Perfect.
time.
Awesome. Zaxx, you dropped a really cool video about a subject we're going to get right onto, Batman. And I'm blown away, blown away by it. And I can't wait to get in to talk to it in more detail. But in the meantime, how are you doing, sir? How are things in Canada?
I'm doing great. I did my first ASMR video, which is what my last one apparently was.
It was hot. It was
yeah,
hot.
I know. Yeah, and I had to up the volume on it too, so that made it worse. But you know what? It was recorded, so it's going out. That's it. And if you guys like it, I can do more of that here if you want.
There it is. Yeah, I was going to
There it
say.
is. Yep.
Yes.
You could be the next Amaranth. You just need to put a horse head on you and whisper in Canadian.
Lick the mic. Yeah.
Yeah. In a bikini.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to shout out some of the usual gang we got with us. Paul Wolfley, hail to you, sir. We've got Jaden Hamilton. Awesome to see you. Punk Waddle, thank you for modding tonight. Keely Chow, it's great to see you. Zaxx, you can call people out too. I am jumping around. Who else? We have that Thunder Sensei.
That's who I was going to call out.
Sorry,
Nick
brother.
McCabe.
Yeah.
Nick McCabe's there.
Lyle Hammock. Oh, have you gotten any sleep, Lyle? Let us know it in the chat. For those of you who don't know, Lyle is a new daddy. I think we're going on week 3 now. Hail to you, Lyle. It's great to see you. And let's see, who else do we have? Nick McCabe. Look at this guy. Nick, hit me up if you want later in the show. We'll bring you in, and we'll, once we get into something like Lord of the Ringsy, because I love your takes on it. Nick is great. You guys subscribe to Nick McCabe. He's a really good guy. So,
and we got lovely Sherry in the chat too.
Oh,
hey, lovely Sherry.
Hey, Sherry, it's so great to see you. And we've got Coolin. Oh God, you guys are gonna kill me tonight. Zaxx, you say it.
Are we gonna say Kuan Dilar Bard? Is that the one?
Yes. I think
failed.
So
I failed.
Yeah.
I think there's another I in there somewhere, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Canadian. What do you want?
Yeah, and we've got the Thad that shouldn't be. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for joining us. As you can see, we have some really great voices, some really great minds on this show. So let's go ahead and
no, time out. We have to stop right now because Thad has a great comment. By the way, we invented a new drinking game the other day. Every time Salty calls Matt Reeves Christopher Reeves, take a shot.
You know, I'm gonna defend that comment, and I'm gonna say, and I'm as usual, my take is going to blow your mind, and here's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I would have rather have had a movie from Christopher Reeves and have him be alive now than Matt Reeves. That's all I'm gonna say. And I will even take the ghost of Christopher Reeves being the director of a Batman movie, because I don't know how you beat that. I mean, that sells itself. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, it was early in the morning. I'm 52 years old, so the fact that I even got Reeves into the sentence after only one cup of coffee, give a brother a break. All right, Dad. So as ever, thanks, Zaxx. Thanks, thanks for always looking out for my best interest, you dick. All right, let's see. What do we want to talk about tonight? There's, as usual, nothing happened this week.
It was
nothing
a slow
happened
week.
at all.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about this real quick. And why it's relevant is those of you who are Wheel of Time fans. Okay, it is up. I'm going to bounce you out, chat, but don't worry, we will bring you right back. So why this is relevant, this is a video game that I have never played. So I am not going to pronounce judgment on this, except that I've been reading some of the backstory around how people are. This may shock you. They're already saying how this should be cast as a diverse women of color as the lead character in what I presume to be a Greek hero. But I'm going to let you, Purple, take the lead a little bit on this because we had talked about it before, and you have actually played God of War and know about this world.
Yes, absolutely. This is going to be another case of I'm going to have to go get a rolled up newspaper and smack Amazon on the nose. Stop it, Amazon, stop it right now. Oh, God. Just when you thought it was safe, just when you thought that another franchise couldn't be taken over and corrupted by Amazon, yes, we have the news that apparently they've got God of War in their sights, and they're thinking of doing a live-action TV series based on the games, which I don't know why they think that this is a good idea. One, these games have been around since 2005 when the first game came out. What I'm guessing is they're going to be based on the newer games. So we had a kind of update in 2018 that sort of kind of refreshed the series. We've got a sequel coming as well, and the sequel is looking kind of woke, it's got to be said. So even the games seem to be heading in that direction. But just going by this, and I think you recognize one of the names attached to this, don't you, very well?
Yeah, and I should have read Jaden's message all the way to the end, but far be it from me to correct him. His assessment is accurate. So for those of you who managed to survive Wheel of Time, if you made it beyond the first couple episodes and were as crazy as I was to watch every video or every episode at least twice to review it, you know that the showrunner's name was Rafe Judkins. Well, Rafe Judkins' reward for hitting it out of the park in not adapting the works of Robert Jordan and actually creating a social engineering neo-Marxist third-wave feminist intersectional show, which stole the names from Robert Jordan's 15-book series, The Wheel of Time. His reward is to get another live-action series, that being The God of War. And I don't know, you guys on the panel, I know a lot of you haven't watched Wheel of Time. I know Zaxx did. What are your thoughts on that? And in chat too, tell us what you think. We would love to hear from you.
I can jump on this one quickly here because I know Rafe Judkins really well. He makes feminists look masculine, and so this game, from what I remember seeing, and my kids played it. I haven't really played it, but
I was going to ask.
Yeah, it's hyper masculine. At least the earlier games, overly sexualized, and so
very much so.
How are they going to do this on Amazon with Rafe Judkins? I mean, I guess Kratos must have a much better sister who's going to come in and take over for him, because there's really, I don't know how Rafe can handle this. Seems to be out of his depth.
And here's Prophet of the Dragon. This is for a $5 super chat, right on point. Thank you to you, Steve, sir. We're going to have Prophet of the Dragon on next week, along with Amanda Manethrin, to talk about Wheel of Time.
Nice.
We're going to take a look back at season 1, and I've spent time clipping parts of my own reviews and also looking at news out there. So instead of just picking little pieces of Wheel of Time season 2 trash off the ground, we can get a whole dumpster of season 2 news and dump it all out in front of you, and we can all pick through it together. So let's go ahead and read this real quick. This is mother and daughter in Goddess of War, right? Well, I tell you what, let's think about that a second, and I'm going to give you something from the Bag of Tricks.
For Frodo.
Thank you so much, Prophet of the Dragon, for that. And as long as I am on it, let me back up real quick. And I apologize. I missed an earlier super chat. This is from Thunder Sensei 150 for $4.99. He says, Christopher Reeves was the best Superman. I'll tell you what, because I missed it, let's go around the horn. What do we think? Christopher, what do we think about what Thunder Sensei 150 said? Who is the best Superman on screen?
Oh, Christopher Reeves, absolutely. He embodied the character.
Yeah, I would just say preach, brother. I mean, it's not even, what's nice about it is that it's an objective fact at this point. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I love Henry Cavill Superman, and I think that we could have utilized his screen time with either better writing or better films. But at this point, with what Christopher Reeves was given and the movies that we have been given from him and the impact that he made with that, with those films, I mean, it's just, it's one of a kind, and it really is. I think, honestly, we could even, and I don't know the actor's name, so forgive me, but the Superman and Lois, or the series, the CW series.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's right.
Um,
Tyler something.
yeah, he does a great job, and I
Yes.
have no issues with him. If we were given Henry Cavill with that type of script, I think he
Oh,
would have
yeah.
been much more of like a, runner up. But yeah, so I think it's just
Yeah.
objectively, but that's just me. I don't know.
Zaxx, you're Canadian. What do you think about this? Sorry.
I haven't started watching Superman and Lois season 2 yet because I've been warned.
Okay.
But Tyler Hoechlin is his name. But I can't believe we're not giving Dean Cain any love for Superman.
I know. He was
Like,
good back in
poor
the day.
Dean Cain.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true. It's true.
it's Chris Reeves for sure.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
what I can't wait for, guys, is for Christopher Walken's Silmarillion to come out. That's going to be great.
Christopher
That's-
Walken.
that's an impersonation I'm still working on. I'm not going to attempt it yet. I haven't been drinking enough to do my Christopher Walken imitation. But yeah, no, I agree, and I'm going to bounce off of what Max said because I want to make sure that we give Thunder Sensei 150 his full $5 worth of that super chat. Sorry. The pronoun police are here. Woo! Sorry, Thunder Sensei 150. I want to make sure that we give you, Madame, Ms. Your full $4.99. And I liked Cavill. It was the Snyder movies were kind of rough. It really wasn't until the Snyder cut of the Justice League where I really saw Henry Cavill completely as Superman. I just didn't see Henry Cavill. I just saw Superman. And I think it's going to take this DCEU a very, very long time to convince people otherwise. And that's all I'm going to say on that. So hail to you, Thunder Sensei. You are so great to see you. And I'm just going to say this. Here's to truth, justice, and the American way.
May the wings of liberty never lose a feather.
Your comment last night, Salty. I think you said something like, "We do have proof. It's the Constitution." Like very just matter of fact.
Sorry, yeah.
And I was just like, "Yeah, like what are we discussing here? Like what's the No, I loved it. I appreciated it. The chat for those of you who are watching. I was doing a stream last night and we were basically discussing the new. Well, it's not new. It's been a thing for a while now. But Superman had changed his motto and they'd gotten rid of American Way for a better tomorrow, which in and of itself isn't inherently like a bad thing. It's trying to get a broader audience. However, it makes it seem like the American way is not for a broader audience, whereas the Constitution talks about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for everyone, and that the American way is an ideal to live up to. And so one of the gentlemen that I had on the stream the other night was basically saying like, what do you consider the American way? And Salty came in and just in the chat just went, the proof, which is the Constitution. Like, where are we going wrong here? Yeah. So sorry, I just had to give context. But.
No, thank you for that. And I also remember that you ran out of beer talking last night. So we Max has something called the beer signal. And he needs to, whenever you see the empty beer bottle light in the sky, you know that we need to have Beer Man come save Max. So I love these. I love our chats. I really do. Look at this. Lyle Hammock, the man, the myth, the legend, the new daddy. How are you doing, sir? This is a $5 super chat. You guys are fantastic. Says, hail all. Please tell me Rafe Judkins is not going to be involved with God of War. He already ruined Wheel of Time. God of War is one of my favorite games. Why? Now, I'm going to let Max, have you played God of War? Do you have any subject matter expertise in it?
I don't, unfortunately. I never played the game. The only thing I can relate it to is kind of like our modern day Conan. He's kind of like, I would assume him to be the Greek version of the Sumerian type of form. And I mean, it's odd because like we were talking about prior to this, it's hard to imagine anyone adapting something so masculine and so politically incorrect, where he is so much there's sexuality, there's violence, there's masculinity.
Mhm.
And so to adapt something like that, I don't know. Number one, I don't know why they would want to. And two, I don't know how they would spin it to try and really just contort it into something different.
Mhm.
But I mean, we've all seen Wheel of Time, so it can be done, but at what cost? And it's unfortunate because so many people have played the game and know Kratos so well in that context.
What about you, Purple? I know you and I talked in the green room before the show about you playing this game. What was your experience? And I guess I'm really confused because if I'm not mistaken, you're a woman who lives in the 21st century in the
Mhm.
UK. How could you possibly be able to enjoy the experience of playing a Greek man? I don't understand. Like, how is that possible?
It's an enigma, isn't it? Yes, in a world where you can only relate to somebody if you see yourself on the screen. It's kind of bizarre. It's almost as though that's you know narcissism coming out in a lot of people. But
Mm.
yeah, these games, as Max correctly said, they are hyper masculine. He is a great. He's not even a hero in the early games. He's an anti-hero. He's not a particularly nice guy. We've got. They're loosely based on Greek mythology. The later games bring in a lot of Norse mythology as well.
Okay.
And we have obviously Kratos, who is the main character, who is the Greek god of war, hyper masculine, very stoic character.
Mhm.
But he's a lot of fun to play, and it's these games that you can just kind of immerse yourself in and just beat the hell out of enemies,
Mhm.
and it's a fun time. But I cringe to think what they're going to do with this if they do indeed bring this show to life. We don't have a particularly great track record of games being brought to the big screen.
Yeah.
Even something like The Witcher, which people really
Mm.
like, isn't the best. It's probably the best example we've got, but it's not the best translation for
Very
what we
true.
could have had. So
Yeah.
yeah, this isn't great. We've also got, I think, The Last of Us is coming with Pedro
Oh
Pascal.
God. Yeah, and I actually did a review, and I'm gonna get back. What are we
Wait,
okay? Did I do
actually,
something?
can I quickly jump in here? I want to do
Yeah.
because Resurrection 117 did a member chat, which don't come through on the other side. They don't come through on the restream side, but it's in the
Okay.
chat. So and it applies to this. And he says, the God of War is about a father-son relationship. So we know
Mhm.
how Rafe treats those from episode 1 of Wheel
Oh,
of Time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm Resurrection 117, and I'm sorry, these don't come through on Restream. Has been a channel member for 2 months and was one of the very first people to sign up for my channel. And
Nice.
I just want to say thank you from the honestly all of you guys that are there, Al, Dan, William 101, everybody. I just updated the channel member list tonight for the credits and the role, and I am humbled. You guys are amazing. So you are correct. And so honestly, Resurrection 117, from what I've read, the God of War is a father and son relationship. We know what Rafe Judkins did in every father-son relationship in Wheel of Time, including those that were from the source material, very strong, good, tight-knit, salt-of-the-earth people. They're all philanderers, alcoholics, or absent. So that's what you're going to get with your God of War. I'm going to quickly
Oh,
give.
God.
I'm going to
So
quickly give
Kratos.
Lyle. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
I
No,
was just like, Kratos is going to be a deadbeat dad. Nice.
of course he is.
Yeah.
Oh God. I owe Lyle Hammock a little bit of video joy. Let me pop this out real quick. This one is for you, Lyle.
Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
It's like a classic tuxedo. You can just wear Star Wars anywhere. It looks good on everybody,
Mm.
Anyway, I'm talking, of course, George Lucas's Star Wars, not Disney's
Not
Star Wars. So
Disney.
hail to you, Lyle Hammock, and also thank you, Resurrection 117 again. Yeah.
Can I call out some people in chat again?
Please
Yeah.
do.
I'm going to do it. Clobbering Times is here. Thanks for coming, Clobby. Brandon, the anime guy, is here. Blair DeBlair is here. He's also a Wolf brother and a member. So
Yeah.
thanks for coming. We got Paul Wolfley back again, and Snorta Poopas Cuber, who I can't say it
Oh,
like as well as some others can, but it's out there anyways. Nerdporial's here. It's a star-studded chat. Brandon, the anime guy.
Oh
What's
my
going
God.
on?
We got everybody, and don't forget, we also have Son of Jockster is in the house. You guys, this is fantastic. Phoenix Fire 108. Look at this. Paul Wolfley. Oh, it's great to see you.
And Jaden Hamilton's giving us a wisdom from his 17-year-old mind, and he's right almost all the time. So we got Thad holding us accountable for every mistake we make.
It's true. Thank you, Thad. Where would we be without you? I mean, honestly, someone needs to crack the whip around here, because this is a mighty loose ship we got going on. Let me get to the. You guys are lighting this up. Thank you. It's a $5 super chat. Wheel of Time is so important for Amazon that they have Rafe working on on 2 major projects. The hubris of these people. That is from Paul Wolfley. Let me give you something. Here we go. This is for you, Paul.
We travel light. That is handsome walk.
I don't know why. Every time I play that clip and Max is on the show, I see him smiling. You guys don't see it, like when that video's running. This is a man who wants to drink beer and hunt orc. Let's be honest, and that's why I love having Max on the show. So hail to you again, Paul Wolfley. And look at this. We got another super chat. This is from my wolf brother, Resurrection 117 for $10. You guys are incredible. It says, at this point, all these shows, I'm going to do this again. At this point, all these shows are just selling agenda with the bare minimum of a connection to the original intellectual property. Hail to you, Resurrection 117. I'm going to throw that out to everybody. Purple, Max, Zaxx. Tell me what you think about that. I mean, we've heard this before, but to see it in the chat, I think a lot more people see this than the media wants to admit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We've seen it time and time again with IPs. It is just they take the IP and run with it, but it's name only. You're not getting the source material, you're not getting the lore, you're not getting the love of whatever it is they're trying to co-opt.
It's unfortunate to kind of piggyback off of what Purple just said. The thing that I hear the most from people, and I think this was actually brought up on the show the other night too, but everyone tends to just go, say, well, who cares? It doesn't matter. Or who cares? It's just another show. Like, you have all this back story, or you have all these comics, or you have all these movies or video games. So, like, who cares if it's just another thing that they're doing? And what I can't help but think is, like, when you envision, so like if Kratos goes to the big screen, to kind of relate it back to what we were just talking about, then people will relate Kratos to however he is portrayed on Amazon, not from the video games, because more people are going to be watching the show as opposed to the games. So then, you say, hey, I really love this depiction of this character, and someone goes, well, good luck trying to find him, because he's nowhere to be found other than that show. Like, you're only going to find that version of him there. And so that's what's unfortunate. And that's why whenever someone says, well, who cares? It's just a show, or who cares? It's just like one thing. Like, no, like, it's like, with Lord of the Rings, like, whatever, they're going to do what they want. And it's like, but people already know the source material. They know what the depiction of these things. And when it's not what they have known and what they love, it's like, it's marketing 101. You have to give them a little bit of something that they know and a little bit of something new to keep them hopeful for the future and to keep them grounded in the past. But it's not balancing out that way. And so people just go, well, who cares? It's not a big deal. And I think, and that opinion is kind of false and disingenuous.
Yeah. But I agree. Zaxx, what's your take on that, man?
What I don't understand about these companies, and by the way, we were up to 30 before, which is pretty awesome in our chat.
Nice.
So thanks, guys. And hail to Callie, who's here now too.
Oh, hey, Kaylee.
What I was going to say, Corey, because I interrupt everyone all the time. So is that when you buy an IP, what you're really buying is a fan base. Like, yeah, there's a story there, but you're buying people who are already loyal to that fan base. So what I really don't understand is why these companies pay the money for something only to piss off the fans immediately. At least bait us in a bit with something that's kind of similar to what we've been a fan of, and then maybe change it later. But which, you know, some people have done a better job of than others, but right now they're just going right for it. And why bother? Just make something new.
Yeah, and it's not just us. It's not those of us who have our fandoms. It's not those of us who would consider ourselves to be medium grade to industrial grade nerds. It's normies. Normies are seeing this, and they're seeing it. It's not just science fiction and fantasy. It's love stories. It's books that were written in the 90s, which have been woke cast. And they're saying the same things that we are about the Lord of the Rings, about the God of War. And you know, Zaxx, you brought up the question, why not just make something new? You know, why don't they test their markets out? Well, I'm going to challenge that. And I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying at this point, I think the whole reason they did buy that intellectual property was to disrupt it, was to shake things up. I mean, you know, J.J. Abrams is still a big player in Hollywood. And the philosophy that he was espousing in the tweets that he did last year during the mostly peaceful protests around the country, we're seeing the fruit of that promise in every single intellectual property, whether it's on streaming or the big screen. So to me, I wouldn't even call it a conspiracy theory at this point. I just see it, and I'm going to call it the way that it is. This is deliberate. It's being done intentionally. They're not doing it for money anymore. Apparently, they just want to make sure that we're not comfortable for some reason. But, you know, maybe I'm crazy.
I think another, and I'll try and make it brief because I know we have a couple more super chats to get to, but I think there's a great video that talks about this, and basically the gentleman speaking on the Lord of the Rings and Amazon's Wheel of Time and all this stuff, because he's a big fantasy guy. He always asks the question why, and in business or in like any type of like marketing or whatever, you have like the 5 whys, and you just what happens is you continue to ask yourself why. So like if you go, okay, Amazon is taking over this IP, okay, why? Because they want the fan base, okay, why? And you know, you ask yourself 5 whys, and then you get to the root of what it is that why they did this, and everyone will have their own different take, but a lot of times I think for some people it's to divide the fan base. You know, like for some people, they think that that by having Kratos in this new God of War thing, by having Lord of the Rings, by having the Wheel of Time, when they divide the fan base, they make it the haves and the have-nots, or like the toxic fans and the people who are the virtue signalers, or the ones who are better or something. And it's unfortunate because then it really doesn't just divide the fan base, it divides like the showrunners, it divides the actors, it divides everyone, and it creates this big thing, and then you're left with a pile of rubble, and then they move on to the next IP. So I'll kind of, I guess what I'm trying to say is, for me, I think it's more of a question of, are they trying to divide more people with this God of War series as well? But
yeah, you know, I agree with that. And I'm going to go back to, well, I'm going to read this super chat real quick because I think that it melds in with how I'm going to answer it. This is from Phoenix Fire 108. Hail to you. So $5 super chat says, any predictions on how long the woke of time will last? Meaning the wheel of the trash fire of time. I think it can't flop fast enough. Keep going strong, Salty. Oh, you guys are bad. You guys are the best. And guests, wash the spears. Hail to you. Absolutely. The IEL. Actually, these guests are part of the show now. Max and Purple, whenever they want to roll in, are absolutely part of the show, and I am very honored. Zaxx, I'm always honored that he shows up every week to put up with me. So you guys are in for a treat. I'm a very fortunate individual, and I am grateful to everyone in the chat, but also to these lovely people I get to work with on Tuesday nights. So to answer your question, Phoenix 108, Any prediction on how long Wheel of Time will last? It can't flop fast enough. I think, again, this goes back to what Zaxx was saying and also what Max was saying and Purple in the past. This isn't about fan satisfaction. It is about dividing the fandom. And notice with the Lord of the Rings of Power, we're not talking about the lore. We're not talking about who we're going to see. We're not talking about how faithful this is to Tolkien, or even, a nod toward Peter Jackson. We're talking about race. We're talking about real world issues, which are at the front and foremost of an incredibly beautiful story. And we saw it in Wheel of Time. We're seeing it in the Lord of the Rings. And my God, this God of War show isn't even made yet, and they're already talking about it in articles today. So to answer your question, Phoenix 108, I know that Wheel of Time built a studio in Eastern Europe. They said they were going to run through 5 seasons. I think they're going to run through 5 seasons. I will. Will anybody be watching it? I don't know. What do you think about that, Zaxx? You're the other person on this that has endured Wheel of Time.
Oh, sorry, I was muted there. All right.
That's okay.
Back. Yeah. Well, I think they've said 5 seasons now is what I've heard. I think 3 are locked down, and they've said 5 seasons. So Amazon has money, and they don't like to be wrong. And I think the whole streaming model, we were talking about this yesterday, actually, Salty and I, and the streaming model is what's allowed these companies to make bad TV out of good IP.
Yes.
Because they're making their money regardless, and so they can, as long as they have a show on there that you want to watch, like Reacher. Reacher was good on Amazon, so I watched that. But I'm also paying for Wheel of Time and Rings of Power, and I guess with Prime, when I order something online, I'm also paying for that show as well. So they don't, because they don't have to go to an advertiser who's actually going to, want people to watch their commercial and buy their product, because they can do that. They can do whatever they want. And we've sort of allowed that to happen through adopting the streaming model, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's such a great point, man, because it really is like, if it's on Amazon, it's like kind of like with Netflix. Like once people watch everything on Netflix, they go, well, what else is there? And they just kind of flip through stuff. And so if you're paying for Prime, you'll have Rings of Power. So I guarantee you Rings of Power is going to be, it's going to make, millions, billions on that first episode. It's just how many people are going to follow through. But as far as like boycotting that first episode, I don't know if we really, unless you have someone like Eric July who just flat out not interested, doesn't want, doesn't even think about it. I think it's kind of it's interesting because we have that subscription already, so it's like people are going to watch it, or we're still paying for it and funding it because of that subscription to the
that's all right. That's all entirely right. One way or another, if you are a member of Amazon, you are subsidizing the entertainment. Whether or not you watch it or not isn't going to change the fact that they've committed to this. They've already spent all this money. It's going to be made. Now, I'm not rationalizing anything, but I mean, I have to watch this show so that I can make episode reviews for people who don't want to watch it.
I'm going to get my money back from Amazon, exactly. And there is the argument as well that Amazon don't particularly care whether they make a profit on this show, because it doesn't factor. They could lose. Even this is the most expensive TV show ever made, and it still doesn't matter because Amazon is such a huge company. It's not going to eat into their profits.
Yeah, it's only $1 billion. It's just $1 billion.
Drop in the ocean.
Yeah, I mean Bezos goes to Red Lobster and blows that like for dinner. Like it's not a big deal, I mean, we're talking astronomical amounts of money from a guy who rides in a penis-shaped spaceship. So let's get real about this.
And there's a dark rabbit hole. Speaking of penis spaceships, that you can go down looking into this stuff. And when these companies, Marvel did it, become a lifestyle brand, then there's a lot of thought, and I've heard talk around that. They don't care if they ruin the franchise anymore or the IP. In fact, they do that to draw attention to their lifestyle brand. So you then, if you're the audience that they want, they can destroy Captain America because you're like, oh well, at least they're I never liked Captain America, so maybe I'll go buy their products now. It's the same. It's that idea. So they destroy Wheel of Time, and we get mad, but they don't care.
Yeah, wait until. Go ahead, Max.
Sorry, no, real quick. That's the thing though, is that I don't actually think they think they're destroying it. I think they think they're making it better. They're improving upon, they're, making the book that was never written by Tolkien. They're
Oh my
thinking
God.
this is like all brand new stuff that like is gonna be. So yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'm sitting here and I'm nodding along laughing because you're 100% right, Max. And I didn't mean to interrupt you at all.
No, you're
They're
good.
they're righting the wrongs of the past.
Oh God. Okay.
Yes.
Max is
Let
right,
that
and
one
I
sink in. Go
I
ahead.
want to add to that super quick that he's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
They have to ruin it in the right way. They ruin it their way.
Yes, yeah. But I think yes, yeah, for sure. Because I'll keep going. But I know we have to get to our super chats.
No,
So I don't
it's. I
want to
mean,
keep them.
no, dude. It's the other thing too. Is it comes back to that word disruption, and I'm just going to say, working in corporate America, disruption has been applied to a multiple variety of industries and segments with disastrous effects. And it is the same thing that we are seeing in our entertainment. And I'm just going to leave that on the table. Let me get to the Nerdporial life form we streamed. This guy somehow got me on his show for almost 4 hours. I was supposed to be there
Wow.
for an hour. And I know that I put Purple Valkyrie to sleep because she was chatting at one point and then she just completely disappeared. So I don't know how to take that.
I had to come
Purple.
back later and watch the second half, but it was a great show you guys did. It really was.
So hail to the Nerdporial life form. I'm going to be on his show, and I do know the pronouns on this one because I've spoken with him. So it's I think is it tomorrow? It's some night this week. I think it's Thursday. Yes, I have a lot going on. So this is stop laughing at me, Purple. So this is a $2 super chat. Oh, look at this! Way to shout out your own show, dude. Okay.
Yeah.
Aliens chat Thursday. It's the only way to be sure. It's true.
It is true.
From space. Nuke from space. Hail to you, Nerdporial lifeform. I missed giving a whole lot of people who super chatted some videos. I'm going to give a holistic, all-inclusive just video for everybody. And this is one of my favorite scenes from The Two Towers.
Now for wrath, now for ruin, and the red gold.
I want to live in a castle and hire Peter Dinklage to blow on a big ram's horn like that whenever someone rings my doorbell. That's what I want. I want to win the lottery.
I thought you were gonna
be great.
I thought you were about to say and Peter Dinklage blow my horn, and I was like, wait a second, that doesn't sound right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, phrasing.
English is my second language. Yeah.
It's not like he's playing a dwarf anymore, so he's got time to do it now.
That's right.
Oh yeah, boy, that Cyrano movie did great.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Knocked it out of the park on that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
He talked his way out of getting more roles. I don't know how actors can do that.
And a bunch of other people as well. It's amazing.
Yes, yeah, which is so sad. He's just totally
I bet you $20 at some point in Willow on Disney Plus, he will make a guest appearance. I'm just gonna say it. That's what I think is gonna happen.
Oh, no.
Did you want to say something, Zaxx?
Oh, nope.
Okay, let me get. God, you guys are amazing tonight. This is another super chat. This one is again from Lyle Hammock, one of my Wolf brothers. Hail to you! It's a $10 super chat. Says, "Oh, here we go. You're preaching to the choir on this one, brother. Look up ESG scores, environmental, social, governance scores, which measure how woke you are. Look up how corporations are using it to determine who can buy and sell goods. It's downright scary, and that is why they don't care." Everything Lyle Hammock said is accurate. What we have to do is, because we are on a globalist platform, is dance around this subject like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. And I would encourage people to do their own research. But if you want to know why every single show, whether if it's science fiction, fantasy, even let's say soap operas you're seeing on broadcast television, all have the same messages with the same quotas, it's the ESG scores. Does anybody want to say anything tasteful that's not going to get my channel blown up related to this comment?
Yeah, I can. I want to say hello, Mrs. Lyle Hammock, and thank you for putting up with us once a week.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Great.
don't beat up your husband. Don't beat up your husband for sending us money. He's dialed it back, and we know that you have a little one in the house, and Pampers aren't cheap. So yeah.
I think Comics Division talks about ESG scores in a manner that is actually really enlightening. I didn't know anything
Yep.
about them until I heard comics talk about it. So if you
Mhm.
guys are interested more in kind of Great Reset ESG scores type of thing, I think Comics
Yep.
Division talks about it on his streams. So
He does, and that's a good segue. I'm a member of his channel. He's a nice guy. He's a fellow Texan down the road from me, about an hour and a half. Yeah, absolutely. The other element of that is there's another phase that we are allegedly in called the Great Narrative.
Mhm.
Mm.
So I'll just leave you with that, and because it's Lyle Hammock, I am going to give Papa something for Mrs. Hammock to enjoy.
Not a lot.
Go hit him!
I am convinced the only reason Max comes on the show is to watch the clips of the Lord of the Rings that I play, because he smiles. You guys don't see it when the screen is big. He's like, oh, I'd put up with Corey's BS just to watch these clips on the show. I'm convinced of that. So hail to you again, Lyle Hammock. You guys are lighting it up. I am.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what you guys can't see is I just have a script on my laptop right here of talking points, and I just read through them. And then once I'm done with my script, Salty normally plays a Lord of the Rings clip, and then that's
It's
like
true.
how I.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. And if I don't like what he's saying, I actually make him watch the second season of Vikings. And it's like it's a good motivation. Good motivation.
Vikings Valhalla, the second season of the History Vikings was fantastic.
Oh, that's
It
true.
was.
My
Yep.
mistake. My
But
mistake.
the
The most
Vikings
recent
Valhalla.
season. Yeah.
Yes,
Vikings
correct.
Valhalla.
I'm
That
so
one.
sorry. I pulled an actually. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. But, yeah.
All I know about Vikings Valhalla, it was directed by Christopher Reeves, and that's why it sucks. So
True.
oh
True.
my God, you guys are crazy. I'm catching up in the private chat, so you guys bear with me. We have a Paul Wolfley, a $10 super chat, says, oh my gosh, let's see. Some hope. Jeff Bezos is a narcissist and wants praise. He just hired a lot of SJWs, and that's who's making the shows. The fan reaction might have him picking up the phone to save his vital legacy. That is an interesting take. I'm going to kick that out to everybody else on the panel while I think about that one for a minute. You guys, what do you think about that? Do you think that if there's enough backlash, sorry, Purple, do you think that if there's enough backlash, good old Jeff will pick up the phone because he doesn't like bad press?
I don't know, to be honest. I know it's been reported that he's a massive fan of Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. If that was the case, I don't think we'd be getting what we're getting at the moment. So I would be skeptical on that. Is he aware of what's happening? I don't know. I think he's got so many things on his mind. He just knows that this show is being made and it'll be out, and he's hoping, I guess, that people like it. But as you say, there is a hell of a lot of backlash, not just from hardcore Tolkien fans, but from casual fans as well. And it does my heart good.
Well, we're really seeing like, and I think we kind of mentioned it before, was like normies now, because once you win the heart of the normies, you've won. I mean, like, you've won. Not saying that this is a win or lose scenario, but we're now seeing normies starting to say, whoa, what is this? Because some of them were saying that even with the Hobbit films, but now they're really starting to push back and go, okay, what is it that we're really seeing here? Even in the article, the Vanity Fair article, I think it says something like, this decision to buy Amazon or Amazon buy Lord of the Rings was not a financial doubt, but more so a doubt of faith with its fans. So they won't have a financial loss because of their success. It'll be more of the how do people take this, and that will be the loss that is, stained if it doesn't go well.
Hmm.
Let me see if I can. I have the article pulled up, and I'm wondering if I can pull the direct
Yeah.
quote.
Well, while you're doing that, right before we went live, of course, other news breaks. And the last thing I'm going to do is throw everybody off. But the other thing is we're talking about these live action fantasies, science fiction series that Amazon has. It's not just God of War they have. Remember, there's this little video game that only a couple people played called Fallout.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
and
you
Mass
guys,
Effect, I think,
remember
too.
that? Yeah,
Yes.
you just stole my thunder. Thanks, Zaxx. Yeah, it's the same thing. All of these video games, it's not just God of War. I never played Mass Effect, but I played the hell out of all the Fallout games. I did.
Do you guys think that this is the new trend? They've kind of run the superhero genre into the ground, and now we're going towards the
Ugh.
computer games.
I
'Cause
hate to say
historically,
it.
we don't
Sorry,
have a
go
good
ahead,
track record of good computer game adaptations, be it TV or film. Super Mario Brothers, for example.
Yeah, that was horrifying.
Are you talking about Chris Pratt as Mario?
Oh, no.
Did we touch on? Wait a minute. Did we
We're
touch
talking
on a
live action,
nerve?
aren't we?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Bob Hoskins?
Yeah. I hate to say this for video game fans, but like I really hope, like when you said, is this the end of an era for superhero films? Please God, please let it be an era, because like if that is the case, we need to transfer we need a break. Like
let it
superhero
die.
fans need, we need the time to process the relationship, that has been going on right now. But I also feel bad because then
it's not you,
Yeah.
it's me. It's not
We need,
you.
we need a
yeah.
separation. Yeah, we need some time apart.
Yeah. I think we just need a break. That's all. But yeah. So I would hate for that to happen for video game fans to then they go, because everything kind of happens in decades, where you have the we had like the fantasy kind of medieval genre where we had Lord of the Rings, Narnia, we had what else, like Gladiator
Harry
was during that
Potter.
time.
Yep.
Harry
Yeah.
Potter, yeah. So you had that kind of war history fantasy period. Now we're in the superhero period, and then what's going to be next? So if it is video games, I pray for them that they get the better end of the stick, but yeah, we'll see.
Speaking of video games, Taker610 has been around this chat for a long time. Hail to you. It's a $5 super chat. Says Kratos is toxic masculinity personified for feminists, but he's still the one they'd all take home to their cabins.
Yeah.
Oh boy, if this were, I'm not going to tell stories. Yes, you are right. You are definitely right, Taker610. Let me grab something. Boy, we have run through a lot of these tonight. Here we go.
Target that explosion and fire.
Fire!
Thank you so much, Taker610. Yeah, there's a lot of things I want to say on this, but I like my channel. I'm just going to say I agree with you. Now, Purple, I know your pronouns are she and her. What do you think about the statement that Phoenix Fire 108 said? Are you offended by that in any way?
Let's have a look. So my thoughts exactly, but I've cancelled my Prime because of
Oops, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I
It
thought you meant the
jumped on
soup
me.
chat.
No, it's okay. No,
Sorry.
Zaxx is too efficient. It was basically the last take was on Kratos and how that all these
that's
super
last one.
feminists would take him home at night. Are you
Oh,
offended
yes.
by a statement like that?
Oh no! I fully agree. Yeah, feminists will decry masculinity and toxic masculinity, but what they really crave is a very masculine guy at the end of the day. And anyone who has had a run-in with a male feminist will Well, know exactly what I mean. Yeah, women like men to be men at the end of the day.
I love this toxic femininity we've got going on my show tonight. Hail to you, hail to Purple. I absolutely thank you. No, it's totally lost my train of thought. Why don't I just yeah, why don't we just skip that one? So let's go ahead and move on to the next super chat if we can. Zaxx,
Okay.
Thank you so much. So
I can tack on a bit to that, which is this
Please.
is what happens when we stop teaching kids how to think, and we teach them what to think. Because now when they come to write a story, they can't think of anything. They have to go find something already written and redo that. No original ideas. They're not thought to think or imagine anything. They're thought what to think and what to say.
You just reminded me of what it was I wanted to say, is that the reaction to this, because they're not taught how to think, which would be critical thinking, they're taught what to think. If they think the right thing, they get the cheese, like a rat in a maze. And the problem with being a rat in a maze is you never get out of that maze. So
It's,
without critical thinking,
And for creators, it's almost kind of like this dichotomy of inspiration and adaptation, like inspiration versus adaptation. Inspiration, taking something that you've read before and then having that inspire you to write something or create something beautiful later. Adaptation is just taking something that someone else has done with no creative integrity of your own and just copy pasting it with a couple things here and there. And so I think those are the two differences that we're seeing a lot now with creators and with that thought process, like you guys have been saying, as opposed to creating their own ideas and being inspired by some of these speakers and some of these, prophetic people. They're adapting what people are saying and then just putting it in their echo chamber so that it continues to cycle around that maze, if you will, like you were talking about.
Yeah, and the walls of that maze are composed of those ESG scores that we were talking about
that
from
keeps
an earlier
everyone
super chat. Yeah.
Mhm.
Rafe Judkins. There you go. Speaking of Rafe Judkins, this is a $5 super chat from Phoenix Fire 108. Says, my thoughts exactly. But I've canceled my Amazon Prime account because of Wheel of Time, despite the loss of perks. Correction. Panel, not guests. Thumbs up. Cheers, folks. Hail to you, Phoenix Fire 108. Yeah, that is an option. Like I've said in a previous live stream, I canceled my personal Netflix account because of a show that had to do with things that I didn't think were cute at all. And
it's a good way of putting it.
The film that should not be named. Exactly.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. I don't know why they needed 480 different individual auditions for that. Anyway, never mind. So yeah, and then of course my better half canceled her Netflix subscription a couple of weeks ago too. And like I never really watched Netflix anyway. I just watched it for The Witcher, and the rest of it I could take or leave. But no, I mean that is an option, just starve the beast. The problem is the beast is a transnational corporation and it takes a sizable amount of people, but they do notice. They really do. And I think Netflix did, if you look at what happened with their stock. And then also let's not forget what happened with Disney and people not wanting their woke trash either. What do you guys think about that? About starving the beast, about voting with your dollars with some of these streaming services and what they're providing, not being entertainment, but it isn't even propaganda. It's just woke dystopian trash,
I think it's working for Disney. I think that I hope that they're starting to realize that they're killing themselves slowly with how they're doing their streaming product. And there's really nothing on there that you want to watch. And the reason I think that is because they keep sending me like, sign up for free for 6 months. Like, I won't sign up for free. Leave me alone. But they keep sending me these offers and for free. I don't want it. So, I mean, that tells me they're getting desperate when they're courting me for free.
Oh, go ahead, Purple.
I was just saying they were giving away free subscriptions. I think if people had the PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox, and they were tying it into other types of entertainment. But I think it is fundamentally a good idea. If you don't agree with what they're giving you, don't pay for it. Absolutely. And I think Disney is a prime example, having to now branch out because we've got the more adult Disney coming. If I remember correctly, it's not just family based, which was the whole idea for Disney Plus. It was something you could sit down and watch with your kids.
Oh, I can't wait for Peter Dinklage's hot triple X dwarf action show. Oops, my mic wasn't muted. No, I think you're right. I mean, I've been seeing the same things. I saw today this offer. I got it in the mail. It was 6 months free with Hulu and Disney Plus and ESPN. If you, at the end of the 6 months, they build you for 1 month or whatever, but it's like, that's desperation. You know, I don't know how they can recover that brand. I don't know which brand is in worse shape. And this is a whole other conversation we don't have to go down, but Paramount Plus, Apple TV, Disney Plus, these are not healthy organizations. You know, how long can they be sustained?
With Disney too, you've got them scrambling to bring back products people actually like that they own the IPs for, like the Netflix series.
Yeah,
and then reboot those characters. Reboot. Yeah, I know I say it weird.
You say it fun.
I say Canadian. It's okay.
What are you
Eh?
talking about? What are you talking about?
But they're grasping at straws now by pulling those series. Like, what did people like? And we'll get that now. We'll bring it back. Well, okay. Good luck.
It's interesting. I'm debating how I'm interested to see how they do this, because they're probably debating how to put Netflix's Daredevil and Punisher on Disney Plus, because that's their end game, I would assume, is to try and get Daredevil and Punisher on Disney Plus, and those are not Disney Plus. You know, if a kid's just scrolling through and wants to play Punisher or Daredevil, he's going to be in for a wild ride. So who knows what they're going to end up doing there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just hope they continue to put those woke warning labels over everything that was made before 2020. You know, before 2020, so that we all know how traumatic it's going to be to watch the Muppets. You know, the other part that goes along with that is this is one of the first videos I did on this channel. I think I had like 8 subscribers. And of course it was like 45 minutes long, because, you know, that makes sense. But it was talking about why people go to streaming services, and they go for the big flashy content. They go for, you know, Zack Snyder's Justice League. They go for the big new shiny thing, but they stay for the deep catalog of legacy products. And if you don't have that deep catalog, or if you're selectively removing it for problematic reasons, you are essentially guaranteeing you are going to continue to have subscribers who are like popcorn. They'll pop in for 1 month when everything drops and they're gone. And these subscription services don't like that. They don't want people in and out of the door all the time. They want that monthly residual. You know, they're like the mob. They want their take every month. And it's a problem if you don't show up and give it to them. But let me get to this super chat, and I'm gonna let you take this one, Purple, if it's okay. This is from Lyle Hammock.
Absolutely. Good evening, Lyle. Good to see you. It says, hey, Papa Valkyrie, what's your opinion on Netflix's Vikings Valhalla casting a black female as a Viking leader? Aren't you excited? Wow. Funny you should mention that.
Go, girl, go.
I actually covered this a month ago when I was giving my initial thoughts on Vikings Valhalla. I might not have been as visceral as I probably should have been. And I know Max kindly joined me the other day, and we were reviewing the first season, and we were, I think, of all the things that we pulled up that were problems with the show, her character was probably one of the least, at least characterized, offensive. You know, she didn't really make any headway into the plot. She was just there. But as he correctly says, she's been race and gender swapped. And now I don't know why they did this. They say, you know, it was a possibility. You know, we could have had a black female Norwegian ruler.
Yeah,
could have done anything. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
could have been aliens. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not an argument. But the one thing that has really kind of stuck with people is that they took a historically white male Norwegian ruler who is, I think, probably one of the most important historical figures that Norway had. He was the de facto ruler for about 20 odd years. He was known as Haakon the Powerful. This is how important he was. His proper name was actually Haakon Sigurdsson. And this was a real person, and we've seen this multiple times with actual history, with historical characters. You know, we had the Anna Boleyn being recast, which rightly so got absolutely ripped apart because it was a terrible idea. And this is just another pointless exercise in being woke. It's bringing in races and genders that really don't need to be swapped to tell a story.
Yeah, I think Purple.
Go ahead, Max.
Oh, I was just gonna reiterate what Purple was saying, because she said that Earl or Jarl Haakon, which is the character in the show, was almost kind of a non-issue, but not because of the fact that they made her a great character. It was just because she had no depth, really. It was kind of like. If and I'm sure we may get to this later, but for those of you who have seen Batman, the Batman, the mayor seemed so not one-sided, but there was no depth to her character. It almost seemed like a joke. It was just so odd because they were just kind of spouting empty platitudes, and it didn't really actually, because when you saw all the other rulers in Vikings, you have a lot of power dynamics. You have the Christian Vikings who have been converted, and then you have the ones who are into the old gods and the considered pagans, and the power to rule all of Norway or the power to rule England. And so you have the depth to the characters, but then you had Jarl Haakon, who's just perfect. There's nothing wrong with her. She's always right. She has no real depth or tragedy that haunts her or anything. She's made this beautiful city in Kattegat. So everything is just kind of perfect for her, and it doesn't really equal an interesting character. You want someone who has dealt with maybe some struggle or some depth. And unfortunately, we didn't get that. And I know why, because if you portray her in any negative light or fashion, that's when the backlash starts. So.
Bingo.
Yeah, it sounds like Vikings Valhalla was written by Rafe Judkins. It also and let's take that another step further. I'm going to predict that it's also going to look like it was written by Payne and McKay, who are doing the Rings of Power. I mean, these are tropes that are so predictable, and it's exhausting. And I think it's alienating more than just people like us who have read the books and know the characters. I think it's getting to normies who just want to see a show without being hit over the head by the message.
It is, and even more than that, spoilers for the show. Sorry, guys, if anybody was considering watching it, I can't recommend it. She doesn't last out the season, so it was a completely pointless exercise. It was literally just ticking a box to bring a black female character in, where traditionally she really wasn't needed.
I make it more problematic when I ask, so then what happened to all the black people that lived there during Viking times? Where did they go?
Well, in the show, they actually, which was so odd, and I mentioned this to Purple, but like they had people of all demographics who were slaves, which was correct for the time period. Vikings were ruthless. They would raid and they would take slaves of that culture and make them, whether it was they would raid in the Middle East or whether they would raid in England, they would take slaves wherever they were coming. So you had, slaves in the show that were from all races and backgrounds, but then you'd also have traders and people in the marketplace that were also those different races. So I'm thinking like, okay, are these other slaves? How did they earn their freedom? How are they? But now we have a Jarl who is, all this. So it didn't really make sense in the grand scheme of things. I do think she was there, Purple. And now that I think about it more, but one of the things that she said as she's like dying, and again, sorry guys, I'm spoiling it, but like, just it's you don't need to watch it. Yeah. As she's dying, she's talking to Frades, and doesn't she say something like, you are the last one or the last daughter. So
Yes.
I'm thinking
Yes.
they killed her in order to kind of, hey, let's reiterate again, let's say, how great Frades is, and that may have been a reason why they had to kill her, but yeah, it didn't
Yes.
really have an
Wow.
impact.
You can't have two strong female characters going off against each other, so one of
No.
them had to go.
No, because men are either stupid or evil, and without women, nothing would ever get done because they're virtuous and pure. I'll ask this, and then I'm going to move on to the next super chat.
Mhm.
In Vikings Valhalla, and this is for both you, Purple, and Max, did they have men in roles of mentorship teaching other women, or was it just women who were in roles of subject matter expertise?
I'll let you take this one, Purple. Yeah.
To be honest, the male characters that we had, other than I would say probably King Canute, who was probably the most charismatic male character in the show, they were very bland, so much to the point where you're watching the show, and whereas we had with the original Vikings, where you could differentiate because all the characters, the actors were so good and they all looked different and they all had their own personalities that they took time to develop. These were almost the exact same character, both in looks and personality. And I was watching the show, but if I'd looked down at my phone and looked back up, I was trying to figure out, which blonde Viking guy is this that's on screen at the moment? Is this Leaf? Is this the other guy?
Wow.
It was bizarre.
Well, I caught your show, and especially talking about Leaf in discovering Greenland and how important it was crossing the freaking Atlantic in one of those, low boats with the rowers, the Vikings. Kind of a big deal, but yeah.
5 weeks on the open ocean with one of those things. I mean, like, I couldn't even imagine. Could not even imagine.
know.
But I would agree with Purple. I think King Canute, and if you wanted to, you could probably say Leif. But also, he's running from his past. He has an awful father who's been cast away from Norway and has been ostracized, and so he's trying to outlive that shadow. And by doing so, though, he does have some great moments of heroism, but never moments of mentorship. I think the closest male mentorship or relationship would probably be Jarl Sigurdsson and Leif, as they kind of learn from each other. But King Canute, though, steals the show. So if anyone does want to go watch it, you'll see King Canute and you'll know exactly who we're talking about.
Right on. Let me get to this super chat. Paul Wolfley, hail to you, sir. It's a $5 super chat. Says, woke feminists, 8 to 10% of the population. That's sexist. 90% of women. What happened to all the men? Trying to avoid being sexist. And did I miss anything in that? I got to look through this real quick. Nope. Yeah. So I think you might be generous with this estimate, Paul Wolfley. I agree with your numbers. I think you're right in principle. And from the numbers you've seen, woke feminists comprise maximum 10% of the population. 90% of the women are asking what happened to all the men with a capital M, trying to avoid being sexist. I'm going to give this to you, Purple, because I can. There you go.
just because I would agree with that, and I think a lot of people, because we spend so much time on social media, they think that the feminism is much more prevalent and much more popular than it actually is. It's not. I would agree. I think it's probably even less than 10% of the entire population. Women and men have set roles we have throughout our entire history. We as a species, we know what works. And I think in the past, probably, would you say 15 years or so, it's been a case of they've been trying to make the sexes afraid of each other almost.
Yes.
We've had so many not just TV shows, but if you think even advertisements where it's always the guy that's been put down. in a family setting, it's the guy that's made to be look like the idiot in whatever situation is going on. And then you've got things like TV shows, movies, social media. It is relentless, and I really do feel for you guys. You're constantly being bashed over the head with this idea that you can't be men, that you can't be masculine, that you have to defer to women, and it's just not the case.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a different generation than Max, and I'm not sure how old Zaxx is. I think he's 80, 70, something like that. But, yeah, something like that. But it was a different time. and, I've said it many times in live streams. I was there when intersectionalism first started, when critical theory was first being put out into the universities, and everything we're seeing now is a product of that. And the outcome of it is, again,
I got you covered.
The outcome of it is that this is not about building a dialogue between men and women. Of course, me saying that, I could lose my channel here on YouTube, and you think I'm kidding. Like Purple said, there were healthy societies in Western civilization worked as well as they did based on a couple different principles. And the number one of that was the nuclear family, with things that Purple were talking about. When you take those things away, in my opinion, you're shifting into an unhealthy civilization. But I could be wrong. I'm going to throw that to somebody who's probably a lot more fun than I am in answering this. Max, what do you think about that?
Well, I would say, because it's Purple, you were saying you feel for men. I think both sides are getting it, but just kind of in different ways, because now you look at females and they think that the only way for them to be strong or for them to have a voice is if they're a CEO, or if they're some leading the charge of an army, or if they're doing these like outrageously like large, grand scale, very masculine archetypes, or like these positions of power that are just unattainable to reach, or they're so sexualized that it's like everything on Instagram is just like, fake Photoshop and this and that. And they think that they'll only be accepted in that way. So though I'm not simping, I think across the board, both roles have been just completely perverted, because the masculine role has been completely taken away and subverted. I opened the door for someone the other day and almost got a bad look that how dare I open the door, like that they wouldn't be able to do it themselves. And just so little things like that, where it's like, we're getting away from just common decency and human qualities to promote this new way of thinking. Now, Purple, I did want to ask, when it says the 8% to 10% of the population, do you think that is feminism in general, or do you think that's intersectional? Because I think two can, there can be differences, but
yeah, I think there's definitely differences. I think if you're going real hardcore feminism, intersectional feminism, I think it's probably as low as maybe 1%.
Agreed.
Yeah. Now, feminism, as in, this kind of woke idea that women are just as good as men, and, we can do anything that a guy can do if we put our minds to it. Yes, yeah, that's okay. That's fine. Nobody said that you can't, but you don't push, one sex down to raise the other. There is nothing wrong with being feminine, and there is nothing to be ashamed of to be masculine.
Now, what percentage of Russian Twitter bots do you think are intersectional feminists? Like 98%?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I will say. Yeah. Oh no, I was just I realized as I said it, I was like, I should probably reiterate. I'm totally a toxic male when it comes to sexual or over sexualization of, like most of my comic book covers are like beautiful women, next to, incredible, like Conan covers and stuff like that. So yeah, if anyone's thinking I'm a hypocrite or whatever, I fully admit that I am a toxic male when it comes to that kind of stuff. I think the feminine form is amazing.
I agree, but here's the thing, that would mean a whole lot of women are toxic women because they don't put ugly dudes on romance book covers. They don't put ugly dudes in love stories on the Hallmark Channel. they don't put those guys on there for their brain size. They're putting them on there for a whole other reason, and it's biologically wired into both the sexes, in my opinion.
I love it. I like if a woman were to over sexualize me, I'd be like, hey, great. I don't know. Like that's you look at the Marvel movies, and like these guys want to take their shirts off because they're like, yeah, I've worked my ass off to get this type of physique. I want to show this off. I want to be presentable to a woman. I want to be able to have this type of look, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think women appreciate when guys, look a certain way. And so, yeah, I think it's great. But
they do, you say guys appreciate the female form, women appreciate the female form, but we love good looking guys as well. There's a reason why Henry Cavill is so popular when he's the Witcher and he's got his shirt off.
Yeah.
I thought it was because he could make his own computer. Are you telling me because you're objectifying him?
Well, he's the huge nerd as well, and that's a massive plus point.
Yep.
But you said about the Marvel guys taking their shirts off, and there's the double standard when we had ScarJo complaining that she was overly sexualized.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
She cashed those checks with nothing but tears in her eyes, and was ashamed to go to the bank and
I was
take
playing
all
my
of that money,
tiniest violin for her.
just like Zoe, just like Zoe Kravitz, who's
that's right,
faced so much oppression with her parents, who have a combined net worth of over $100 million. Tell me about all the disadvantages you have playing Catwoman. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Our heart goes out to her. She's just struggling right now.
Yes.
So hail to you,
thoughts and
Paul
prayers.
Wilson.
I'm going to change my profile picture to Zoe Kravitz so that everyone knows.
F's in the chat. F's in the chat for Zoe Kravitz, everybody. I'm going to be setting up a GoFundMe so she can go to McDonald's.
That's so kind of you.
I'm going to go ahead and
use the money to buy a decent headpiece for a Catwoman.
yeah.
She could fix the holes in that stocking cap she wore through that whole movie. Speaking of stocking caps, we have Snowdub Music and Entertainment. Oh, hail to you. I knew I was going to get this back. I spent all Saturday doing this on his show with Culture Casino and a whole lot of other people. This is a super chat, and I have to read it. So this is $2. Money for Salty Texas Seas American flag G-string. That is from Snowdub. Hail to you, brother. It is so great to see you. We loved having you on last week, and I look forward to your madness this coming Saturday. So hail. And I know, Purple, you have a soft spot for Snow as well.
I do. Snow's a wonderful guy, and say hi to Puff for me.
And he's got something for Purple there too.
Oh, you can read this one, Purple. This is all you.
Thank you to Snow W Sensor C $2 super chat. He says, cash to stuff in Purple's shamrock green studded bra. How did you know about that, Snowdub? I need answers. I'm getting paranoid now.
That's
hilarious.
It's so true. You forgot about Max. Snow, use that braid. We got to get Max a blush tonight. I'm gonna.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Just going to transition into a video, but you talk.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's funny because even on this channel, it seems like you guys have something like that. Because, Salty and Purple and Zaxx, I know you've been over on some of the McKenna, streams I have with McKenna.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we'll talk about is the male undergarments for the military, which are called silkies. And silkies are a thing that military men will wear in when they're working out or they're doing some sort of physical activity. And it started, I think, in like jungle warfare in Vietnam or whatnot. And they're these tight short shorts, these little booty shorts for men. And you make one wrong move and you're having a wardrobe malfunction, But it's funny that whether it's my stream or this stream here, it's either bras or G-strings or silkies. It's always got to be something, right? But
that's what it comes down to every time.
Yeah, love it.
Sorry, I was on mute trying to catch up to the super chats. You know, at some point we're going to talk about Batman, but this is a lot of fun.
We're still on the first topic.
We're an hour and a half into the show, and we did talk about Zoe Kravitz, so that's a positive thing.
Hey,
I've been having a great time. You know what? Batman isn't going.
That's
anywhere.
representation right there. We talked
Oh
about
my
her.
God!
We're
Did
good.
you guys see? Did you guys see all the F's in the chat for Zoe Kravitz? This is why I love. This is why I love this community. We have the best chat. You all have the biggest hearts. I don't care what any transnational corporation that wants to kill you says. You guys are the best. Just gonna say that. So,
Stunning and brave.
stunning and brave. Speaking of
Well done,
stunning
you
and-
bigots. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
you already got it up. Thanks, Zaxx. This is from Paul Wolfley again. Hail to you, sir. Oh, it's a $5 super chat. It says, in Montana, one of my favorite places in North America. I love Montana so much. In Montana, even if a woman is ahead of you walking, they will stop for you and wait to catch up to open the door for them at the store. They do it here in Texas too. And hail to you, Paul Wolfley. I think that is a good and beautiful thing. And I don't know how you can look at that and consider that to be disempowering unless maybe you're not getting any. But I don't know. It's just the right thing to do. That's how I was raised.
Yeah, it's
Well,
just
here's
good manners.
there's still limits for this stuff though, because the woman who gave Max a dirty look for opening the door, if it came time to move the couch and he didn't help her, he's getting an even worse look, right? I can move the door, but hey, can you get this couch? It always comes down to moving furniture, always.
And
Or
killing
there's a
spiders.
spider. Yeah,
Spiders,
There it
yeah.
is. What did I
You guys did it
say?
at the same time.
Well, I knew that was going to pop up. Thanks, Purple. You just validated my whole thesis. That was a home run,
Hilarious.
guys. It's been a great night. I'm going to go now. No, it's true. It's true. You're right. It's selective I don't know, disempowerment.
helplessness. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a question for Max then to follow up on that idea. When you helped Gary move for Nerdrotic, how many women of the neighborhood came flocking over to help you lift shit?
Yeah, right. Now this was what was so great about it was like it was like myself, Gary was doing the real BBC, and Melissa, Gary's wife, her brother and I were doing a lot of the work. One of the neighbors came by, one of the older male gentlemen, and then two young kids who were just like neighbors, just two like young, probably 16, 17 years old. They're like, yeah, how can we help? It was so rad. And Melissa gave them some cash as they left. But Melissa is like a saint because she was bringing us coffee, or she'd be like, can we get you guys cigarettes? Like we were having smoke breaks in the middle of moving stuff. Like it was so much fun. And it was great because we were all just doing something to help Gary out. And by the time he was done with real BBC, most of the stuff was pretty much put away, except for the 7-foot tall Superman statue, which, I mean, some of the stuff that man has is just, it belongs in a museum. But
Is it in your house now?
I couldn't, I wish that was one thing I tried
that was
to,
that was his pay for doing it.
right. Yeah, Gary wouldn't let me part with that, unfortunately. I did try and take the 1/4 scale, or no, 1/6 scale Hot Toys Aragorn, but wasn't able to snag it. But to answer your question, no, it was mainly most of us men helping move, but Melissa was a saint because she was like, just giving us anything we needed and was helping out as much as she could and was organizing like a fiend. Like she was working just as hard as we were, but just in a different capacity. It was great.
Melissa's
Funny how
such a
that works.
sweetheart. She's a lovely lady.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's fantastic.
Yeah. Funny how it works when we're not busy trying to be aggrieved and finding fault and looking for fake slights when things need to get done.
We have a member who showed up whose name I can't pronounce.
Oh, all right. You're gonna pitch this one to me. All right. This is Dovendi C. Tovia Sagain.
Nice
Hail to
job.
you.
Nice.
Oh yeah, my brother lives in Romania, so if I have enough bourbon, I can sound like I know what I'm talking about. So
I'm kind of turned on by that.
yeah. Yep. I'm glad you're in Canada. I
No,
got
wait.
enough problems. Yeah.
Can he pronounce this though? That's the real question. No, that's
let's do this.
Wait. Let me see it again.
Yeah.
That says Christopher Reeves.
I think written by Christopher Reeves. That's what I said.
Written by that's the novel Tolkien never wrote that only Payne and McKay could write. Yeah, the Silmarillion. It was written by Christopher Reeves, and it's one of my favorite things. Oh, wait a minute. I turn around and Punkwaddle's dropping this in my chat.
That's right.
Hail to you, Punkwaddle. He does every show shows up. We chat during the week and share insights and talk about the crazy world that we're in. And of course, I watched Punkwaddle working with Purple Valkyrie earlier this week. Good guy. Good guy.
That was a great show. Thank you, Punkwaddle.
He gives us $2, and you didn't have to do that. Thank you, sir. He says, did someone say thoughts and payers? Yeah, baby, that's how we roll in here. This is the champagne room, bitches. Yeah. Yeah. I'm nerd on the streets and payer in the sheets. Yeah, that's what we got going on. I'm channeling Snowdub.
We got Yeti Cast in the chat now too. Hey Yeti.
Oh my God. You guys, thank you so much for showing up tonight. I know it's not for me, it's for Purple, but I'm still glad you're here. So you guys are fantastic. This is Thunder Sensei 150, who is a woman, by the way, regardless what Zaxx misgendered her earlier, and I'm glad I could correct that now. This is a $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Thunder Sensei 150 says, I swear it feels like these I'm gonna like this super chat. I swear it feels like these intersectional feminists don't want anyone to be happy. You're not wrong. It's so sickening that they constantly have to bring down not only men, but other women for not going along with it. Well, I think we all know where I'm going to turn on this super chat. Go ahead.
I absolutely agree. And it seems like Thunder Sensei has borne the brunt of women who don't like other ladies to behave like ladies, and it is sad because we shouldn't be tearing each other apart. We should be building each other up, just as we shouldn't be tearing guys down for being masculine. You shouldn't be tearing other women down for being feminine or for whatever choices that they want to do. You know, not everybody wants to break the glass ceiling, and there's this idea that if you want to be a mom, or if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, or if you want to have a family, then somehow you're lesser of a person, and I absolutely hate that idea. So I couldn't agree with her more.
Yeah.
Well said, Purple.
Yeah, she's right.
And Zaxx, I mean, you go ahead. You've got your family. You have a boy who's a teenager. You have a younger son. I'm not going to say it. Just tell me how important it is to have that strong female archetype that you have in your life.
Oh, it's the most important thing there is, really. I mean, but we complement each other fairly well in that she does everything and I don't do much. So that's
just like this show.
Like this show. Yeah. Well balanced. It's well balanced. Yeah. Now I'm lucky, but you have to. I mean, we're not. We don't compete. We work together. That's how it's supposed to be.
There's the word. Collaborate. Equality. And that's really what Thunder Sensei 150 is talking about. And I mean, I only have my experience, but I remember intersectional feminism 30 years ago. And like I've said, I went to a crazy college whose motto was, we were the boot camp for the revolution. So you know what kind of lunatics I went to school with. And I was so smart that for my work study job for my student aid, I became the head of the men's center. So I was the head of the men's center, and I was facing off against the women with a Y. They spelled women with a Y because it was disempowering to women to use the word men in the term women. And this is 30 years ago. So what we're seeing today is all happened before. It's just like Battlestar Galactica. It's just like Wheel of Time. it's Groundhog Day all over again. So
Please tell me it was something like Al Bundy's Yes Ma'am that you had set up.
you know, I was doing the Robert Bly drum circle thing and drinking wine out of gallon jugs, listening to the Grateful Dead, even though I didn't like the Grateful Dead at that time. And how do we say this? Let's just say, you know, everybody talks a good game in the locker room, but when they get out on the field, boy, they sure do like those more rugged sports playing, toxic patriarchy all males. Just gonna say that. So yeah. I'm going to give Funda Sensei 150 something. Hail to you. Thank you for always showing up in our chats. We love your input. Thanks to everybody who's with us here tonight.
Not a lot.
Go hit him!
Yeah, I think Purple, you said it last week, and I know Max, when you were on the show, boy, it's like a month or two ago. We were talking about how regardless of what they do to our fandoms, we are not alone. And as long as we have each other, we have the books, we have the physical media, Amazon can do whatever they want, just like they did to the Wheel of Time. Now, Max, I see you got a share here. So chat, don't worry, we will come back. I'm just going to bounce you out so you can see what's on the screen.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, and I promise not to take too much time, but I
No, it's
love
okay.
this article. I'm going to, if you guys want to check it out, this is Joan of Arc, Antidote to Symbolic Inversion from the Symbolic World.
Ooh.
So I wanted to, this is a very heady article, but I always go back to this. I'm working on a video trying to incorporate this into Galadriel and how this portrays her. But kind of all this talk that we've been going through with intersectional feminism or whatnot, and having it be National Women's Day, I thought it was interesting to kind of bring this up and the subversion of what and why it's kind of tearing down not only men, but also women. But I wanted to bring this up real quick. The author says, I've mentioned how deconstruction leads to floating signifiers in the absence of a viable replacement for dismantled conceptual structures. What then is to be done with the symbols left floating from the rubble? You turn them upside down, of course. So he then goes on to say, like, you reveal subversion by inverting or subverting with techniques available. Are you fed up with the hypocrites of Christianity? Turn a cross upside down. Uneasy about the character flaws and misdeeds of prominent historical figures? Turn them into villains. Ready to move beyond the patriarchy? Make the hero a girl. And then he later goes on to say that this is clearly simple rejection. I've described this. Described is far from sufficient in bringing about the actual change desired. So he basically then goes on to say how a true symbol is an organic upwelling from the creative psyche, and for this reason is a representation of a real phenomenon, a real component of human experience.
Yes.
And where was the other thing I wanted to? He basically just brings up kind of what Purple had talked about earlier, is that in order to raise a female character to a higher status or to a status of strength, there's no need to subvert the male character, because there's no hope in doing so. So this is a very incredible article. Like I said, if you guys want to go check it out, it's really well written and just very I guess heady, I guess is the right word. There are a lot of intellectual words that I kind of have to reread over and over again to really get the basis. But I love what he says in that. It's very well spoken.
Send that to me on Twitter. And if you ever, and if anybody on this panel wants to do a talk on that, I would love to do a video on that, and then be able to riff off that and talk about what they're talking about and then what we're seeing in modern entertainment. Now, I know that wouldn't be a laugh-a-minute riot, but I think it would be fun as hell to do. And that is the thing, you know, what you were talking about. The important word is organic. One of the things that critical theory seeks to do is to subvert, like Max was talking about, but it also does something. We start going down this road. It goes back to fascism, communism, Italy, the commune riots in Paris. I had to read all of this commie dog shit, but what it comes down to is manufacturing consent. There's actually a book called that, where you turn what Max was talking about upside down like that for political ends. And it's part of a playbook of neo-Marxism. That's essentially what critical theory is. That's what they're teaching in schools, and that's what's in our entertainment. And the problem with it is that it is not organic. And like anything else, if you were to put something, if you were to embed a nail in your skin, that the body would push that foreign object out of it because it is not part of the body. And I think that's what we're seeing in our culture. And I hope that's what I'm seeing in our civilization. But I will stop talking before Mama Susan takes away my chin. So,
Yes, I think that would be a fascinating topic to cover. That would be a great idea.
I'll read one more little sentence. The wholesale rejection of masculine archetypes altogether, or at least the gendering of their installation, can then be understood as a kind of reflexive reaction against something palpable, really for a lot of people. A deep yearning for change and transformation is afoot, but symbolism or symbolic inversion simply isn't a viable way forward. And then he continues to go, this is why it's not. But I love that wholesale rejection of masculine archetypes and how it's not a viable way forward.
It's a tantrum. Yeah, it's a tantrum, and it is a reaction. So the fact that they're saying we have to tear it down, I used to have this argument, and I won't spend a lot of time on this, is you're still basing this rejection of all these things and yelling at it. It's still real. It still has value. Like, you're not drawing yourself out of the paradigm and creating something new. You're just yelling at what's there, you know? So I agree with that. Let me get to this super chat. Max, that was outstanding. I love when you bring the big brain stuff onto the show. That gets my metaphorical juices, not like Snow Dove, my metaphorical juices. Paul Wolfley, hail to you, sir. It's a $5 super chat. Says, woke feminists, here is a list of everything you can't call a woman, and male feminists will call a woman that, whoa. Woke feminists, here is a list of everything you can't call a woman. And male feminists will call a woman that isn't a lefty with a different opinion. Did I read that right? Okay.
Yep. Yes,
I'm rereading it again.
No. You guys tell me who's got a take on this. And Paul Wolfley, I apologize because I
agree with him. And it's if you get off the reservation, if you go against what they're saying, then you're not part of the group anymore. So you're open to attack.
Yeah,
it's about teaching you what to think, not how to think. Same idea.
Same thing. It is interesting though, because how many times have we seen them eating their own? I mean, they're cannibals.
Oh yeah,
literal cannibals. Like, I used to raise chickens, and I'm going to be doing it again because let's go, Brandon. And if a chicken sees a cut, if a chicken sees a little bit of, did you like what I did there?
That was good.
Yeah, buddy. So if a chicken sees just a little speck of red on another chicken, all the chickens will start pecking that chicken to death because of that tiny little bit of red. So if you have a chicken, you need to immediately cover a scar or a wound with purple because they can't see it. No, not you, purple. Like the color purple. And that's what I'm reminded of with this crazy woke cannibalism is if they see one little drop of blood, they all just go and peck that person to death or cancel them. And it's crazy. I mean, where's the sense of allegiance? Where's the sense of being part of a tribe? I think it goes back to what Max was saying. If it isn't organic and it's manufactured, there's no cohesion to the system. It's all based upon, in my opinion, a lie for manipulation. And therefore, you just are not treated like an equal. You're treated as an other.
Well, it's what's unfortunate too is like I read a tweet today by Matt Walsh, love him or hate him, but he just put in honor of National or International Women's Day or whatnot. Can someone tell me what is the definition of a woman? Very simply, and people still can't do it to this day. And so now we're seeing even leftist women that are saying, like, a woman is someone who, and I won't try and say it because I have no right to, and I because most of the comments were just someone who identifies as a woman. but that then doesn't give any agency to actual women. You know what I mean? It doesn't give them, and Purple, I should probably let you speak on this more so than I. But it's it's unfortunate because now women on both sides, conservative and liberals, are both saying like, we want our womanhood back, we want our femininity back, but it's this kind of weird sect that is defining who we are, and and if we push back against that, we're dead in the water. But
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's the Orwellian changing of language, and we've seen it not just with this, but with many things. But for me, if I was going to say, what is a woman, I would say, firstly, a biological female. That's that would be the starting point, and then you can go on to what makes a woman, what does society call a woman, and that's where it escalates. But biology for me is where it starts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just weird, I mean, I'm just turned 52, and I remember when second wave feminism was just trying to create equality. And invariably what you saw with third wave feminism was equality and being the same wasn't enough. There had to be domination, and that's the problem. That's the problem. And yeah, you look at the Thad That Shouldn't Be. It says, look at how disrespectfully feminists treat Condoleezza Rice. Okay, she's kind of a war criminal, but that's besides the point. She literally was, in terms of military power, the most powerful woman in the history of the world, and they ignored her. It's true.
Yep.
It's very selective. You step out of line. This is a woman who's a person of color, very highly advanced, incredibly literate. If I remember correctly, she's a lecturing professor at Ivy League colleges, and they call her the same names they would you or me. And that's just crazy to me. It's just crazy to me.
But just ask Stalin's friends, how these movements work, and if they end on their own in a good spot.
Yeah, I'll get a shovel. I'll get a shovel.
Yeah.
I'll get a shovel, and I'll dig up enough parts that didn't get fed to the hogs. But maybe this time
movement, they just go and go and go.
Yeah. Guys, we are about an hour and 45 minutes into one of the most fabulous, fascinating, truly organic, to use Max's word, conversations I think I've had in a long time. And I was wondering, do we want to spend the last part of our show? First of all, let me ask you this, Max. Max, I know you have another fantastic video to make. Can you hang out for maybe half an hour with us, or do you got to go hang out with somebody cooler?
Oh no, I'm here with you guys all night tonight, so I got nothing. Okay. When I said I was working on the video with the previous article, that means I'm still trying to formulate my thoughts on it, right because I wish I could say that I filmed it and I'm starting to edit, but that article is so deep and it's got some good stuff that I don't want to speak too quickly or out of turn. So
no, I just want to be respectful to everybody, because everybody comes on this show through the goodness of their own heart, and I love it. Thank you all. So I would say, if it's all right with chat, we're going to pivot into Batman. And this is going to be a conversation that includes spoilers. If you have not seen Christopher Reeves Superman, I recommend it. I had you going, didn't I?
I got a drink.
Had you going. Reeves. Yeah, Christopher Reeves going.
Christopher Reeves.
Yep.
Do it.
But tonight we're gonna talk about Matt Reeves' Batman, the 3-hour movie. We're gonna get into spoilers. We're gonna offer our opinions. So as much as I would love to have you stick around, if you do want to still go and see it, maybe this is your time to dip out, but fair warning. So
too late, stay.
Why don't you take this one, Zaxx? I am going to do something in the background real quick.
All right. So from Paul Wolfley, you got $5 super chat. Trans women trying to flee the Ukraine were stopped and told they are men and need to turn around and fight for their country. Based. Yeah, it's pretty based, and that's
no way.
Yeah,
it's a true thing.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about this. That's I hate to say that it's hilarious. Like, I don't. Am I okay with?
They were.
Am I okay with saying that?
You're among friends.
Yeah,
you're among friends.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and don't worry. I'm pretty sure that draft will include both. Oh wait, no. However many genders there are now here in the United States. So you guys are going to get that one too. So.
Yeah, it's funny how that's kind of shut up the feminist. I saw a lot of posts of them saying, you know what, actually, I think women do belong in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Max, you have a unique perspective. I would never try to exploit that. You know, when I worked, let's just say, and I worked on the East Coast in a city that is the capital. I worked for organizations that are affiliated with the same essential organization that Max worked with, and who I reported to was multiple lieutenant colonels, and they were all women. And here's a news flash, that was 20 years ago. So just dropping my experience, you know.
I agree, brother, and I totally forgot like that you're in that environment as well. But yeah, a lot of I mean, God, you should have seen even in boot camp some of the women that were drill instructors there for leading these platoons of women because they did separate men platoons, male platoons and female platoons when we went to boot camp and everything. And some of those female Marines were just, I mean, savage. They were sometimes even worse than the male drill instructors for boot camp. But yeah, really great example of, like you said, there are officers, lieutenant colonels, generals that that have served that are born and biologically females. And I would never try and laugh at the plight of what is going on in Ukraine. I was laughing more so at the insanity that these cowards would try and leave their city knowing full well that they have the physical capability to fight against
to protect their community and their family. Yeah, I mean, if it's one thing the television show MASH taught us, it's that cross-dressing like Klinger does not get you out of military service. That's wow, I'm probably going to lose my channel now.
I forgot about that entirely, that was a thing in that show. Wow.
Oh, dude, it was a thing for like 12 seasons. Yeah.
Wow. I need to go back and rewatch that.
Oh, I love that show.
That's a great show.
Hot Loops Houlihan. Anyway, let's thank you, Paul Wolfley. I'm gonna give a group video. I haven't done this in a little while, so this is gonna be it's gonna be one from the heart.
For Frodo.
Man, all I wanted was a Lord of the Rings that maybe, and we've talked about this, Purple. All I wanted was something that maybe was at the level of the Hobbit third movie, where it maybe went on a little too long, but it looked like Tolkien, you know, and it sounded like Tolkien, but you know, maybe it just was strung out, and maybe we, you know, and I don't think we're gonna get that. I don't. But yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and start talking about Batman since we're approaching the 2-hour mark. We're still going 22 strong in the chat. Thank you all so much. It's great to see the same usual people, the Thad that shouldn't be. We've got TRW 1974, who I think should make music videos for me full time, but I don't have enough money. So the Thad that shouldn't be says, drink, brother. I'm way ahead of you on that one. Let's go ahead and start with initial observations on Batman. Maybe let's do this for context, and let's maybe just keep it short. Let's mix it up a little bit because I want to help take down the patriarchy. We'll start with Zaxx this time. Zaxx, when you saw Batman, when you know, I'm very pro-Canadian, you know, honk honk. When you saw Batman, did you go? What were your expectations? And I guess just at a high level, did you go in with some? And when you came out, was it what you thought, or was it different?
I went in with, I would say above average expectations, because at first I wasn't looking forward to it, but I heard some good buzz, so I was kind of excited by the time I got to the theater to go and see it. And when I walked out, I did like the film. I thought it was good. Lots of good action. It was beautifully shot, good acting, all that stuff. The writing and the story has been falling apart for me since I left the theater, though. And so I'm trying to make sure that I'm having my own opinion and not picking up other people's, because there's so many of us who are talking about this film. But yeah, there's definite issues with the story and the way it went, and I made a video about it. But I do feel that there was a movie that was made and then another movie was sort of bolted on top of it. And that's really what it feels like now when I think back through it. But overall, it was fun. I liked it. I would recommend you go see it. Just the story was off for me, but action-wise, great. Acting, great. The car chasing, people complain about it, but I love that scene with chasing the penguin. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
I'm not sure if so. I went back and rewatched the trailer, like for Batman, and you were saying, Zaxx, that you had high expectations because you had heard some good press. I also had heard some good things, but my expectations were pretty middle of the road. But I remember watching the trailer beforehand and going, "Oh, this is going to be like another type of Nolan action, like really big action film," and that's not what it is at all. So I think a lot of people may have had their expectations maybe subverted a bit when they actually realized that it was a slow-paced, thought out, like very noir detective film. But to not to its fault, I think to its betterment, because I think a lot of people are kind of getting sick of the Marvel, just churning out the what is that? The cargo bay of just like, here's another Marvel thing, here's another Marvel thing, here's
the conveyor belt.
assembly line.
Yeah.
Conveyor belt.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So I think it was for a lot of people, this was what they wanted, what they needed, as opposed to the committee think,
Yeah, I could see that. And the action wasn't it wasn't as plentiful, but when it was there, it was usually shot differently. It wasn't the standard action fight scenes, the same type of combat we'd see in most superhero movies. It was a more realistic style, and it was just the atmosphere and the feeling of it was so strong throughout the film, even with the little bits of soundtrack that they had, that you stayed in the world throughout the movie. And it wasn't until I left that I started really picking apart some of the things that happened and how they didn't really line up.
I remember one of my friends said that it wasn't just a film, it was a mood. Because like for me, when I left the film, I like felt for me, unfortunately, personally, I didn't really feel much, but the mood of the film will make you feel something. It'll make you feel gritty or gross, or because of just Gotham. And I think a lot of people did kind of feel a mood as opposed to just, oh, it's just a movie that I watched. You really do become immersed into Gotham itself. But I think the narrative, like you said, Zaxx, is where it really kind of falls apart, because it's a beautifully made film, but there are some things here and there that just kind of drop the points down a bit.
Purple, what's your take? When you went into that movie, were you looking forward to it? Did it meet your expectations? What did you walk out thinking?
Honestly, I had really low expectations for the film. I watched all of the trailers, and they didn't really move me. I was very skeptical about some of the cast, especially Patterson. Although I really like him as an actor, I just could not envision him playing either Bruce Wayne or Batman. I was pleasantly surprised with his Batman, but his Bruce Wayne, I think, needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I think that the one thing that this film really did have going for it that was strong was the cast. I think had they had lesser actors, or if the actors hadn't really given their all for these characters to bring them to life, I think that the film would have suffered. Colin Farrell especially, I think, really elevated this film. As the Penguin, I thought he was brilliant. I like Paul Dano. I just didn't like what they did with the Riddler. I will say that to the day I die. This is one of my favorite comic book villains. I think they did him dirty. And even the characters that we didn't see much of, like Andy Serkis, I would have liked to see more of his Alfred. I think he did great. I thought Jeffrey Wright worked well as Commissioner Gordon. Zoe Kravitz, although I'm not the biggest fan of hers, I thought she was actually a pretty good Catwoman. She wasn't overpowered. When they do fight, he easily overpowers her, as he should do, which was nice to see. She doesn't get one up on him. But what I will agree with is they were pulling from too many sources. They've listed multiple comic books that they took inspiration from, films such as Seven and all these sort of dark, gritty things that you can see in the film. So it's kind of like an amalgamation rather than being something organic. But on the whole, I enjoyed it. But it was a film that just didn't know how to end.
Yeah, I definitely echo your sentiment of not feeling like it didn't know how to end, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it ended with a flood that didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, Gotham has a seawall? When was
Right.
that established? Like, I didn't realize that was a thing.
Yeah. I was just shocked they didn't work the global warming thing in there that caused the seawall to collapse. But maybe the next movie.
No, it was the patriarchy instead.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
And cow
all the white
flatulence.
male politicians that brought it down.
Yeah, all of them.
We got a
corrupt,
super sticker
all of
from
them.
A Troubled Green.
Oh, hey, A Troubled Green. So I keep trying to chase this really, really great YouTuber. She's a great commentator. I saw her on with Max and McKenna, I think it was 2 weeks ago.
That was a great show.
Thank you
You
guys,
guys were great. I mean, A Troubled Green, you really carried Max that whole show. So I would love to have you come on the show. Yeah, no, dude, that's the cool thing about Max is, I mean, Max is out there working with these great people that I don't know, and I think both of us were kind of just passing people because there are so many really talented up and coming channels like mine, like Max, like Zaxx, and Purple's the established matriarch of YouTube in my book. So
we're all trying we're all trying to aspire to be Purple. Let's be real.
Yeah, we are. It's true. She has the best merch. I just ordered a coffee cup, by the way.
Oh,
So
thank you.
she has the best merch. Totally. So A Troubled Green sends us $1.99. It is a Shiba Inu with a big smile on his face, tilting his head. Hail to you. We were actually on Twitter today, and if you're available, we'd love to have you come on the show. I would love to hear some more of your opinions about Lord of the Rings, but I'm sure you also have them about other fantasy properties too. So you have an open invitation to Troubled Green. If you haven't subscribed to her, give her a sub, check her out. She was, I believe, on Ms. Martin Muses tonight at her show. But I hope to have her on the show again. And Max, if I send you $10 to buy beer, will you talk her into coming on?
You
my mic
donated. You donated way too much last stream, brother. So I appreciate
shut up.
it.
No, I didn't.
I'll definitely get Alasia to hop on here. I mean, like, because earlier in the stream we were talking about how nerds should be talking about nerd shit. Could Superman beat Hulk in a fight? That's the type of conversations we need to have. And A Troubled Green and I, when we talk about Lord of the Rings, we're talking about, hey, so if we're in the first stage, why are we talking? Why are the Silmarils not involved? Why are these trees involved in this? Like, and we're talking like nerd Lord of the Rings stuff, not so much as the identity politics of it, which is how it should be. And Troubled Green knows much more than I do, and she's doing a full study on her with her podcast that she's doing. So she's an aficionado when it comes to Tolkien, which is cool.
Yeah.
And her link is in the chat now, so give her a sub.
Thank you. I was just going to ask Zaxx. No, and I'm just going to say this, Max. No, if I donate to channels, I donate to them because I believe in what they do. Just like I think when people come on this channel and super chat me, which I'm honored by everyone. Hell, I'm honored that you're in my chat at all. To me, it's a sign of appreciation and respect, and that's why I do it for everybody who is on this panel and anybody who is in my chat who has a channel that I show up on the streams. It's just, this takes hard work, it takes a lot of time, and no one's going to make anything off of it, but it's just nice to have something to help keep the lights on and keep someone named MVP in a good 6-packs. So hail to you, good sir.
Well, I promise I'll work on. Yeah, with those donations, I promise I'll work on my 6-pack of beer and also trying to keep up my 6-pack for the lovely viewers here. So, yeah. You are our spokesmodel. Pretty soon, I'm going to be giving away a refrigerator, so I need you to look good in a G-string for. I'll put on my silkies. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh, I think we've made a troubled green either yell at us. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, I didn't know what I did to deserve all that, but thank you so much. I honestly, Elijah, I'm not a nice person. So if I say things like that, it's
He's
because
not.
it's meant. I'm not Zaxx. I'm not. No, I mean it. And so, hail to you, a troubled green. Can't wait to speak with you. I also want to call out. I had a new channel member. I checked this morning. I updated the end credits with it. Blair de Blair is now either a wolf brother or a wolf sister. I think it's a wolf brother. So hail to you. Thank you so much for joining the channel. And look at this. We've got TRW in purple Valkyrie trading numbers off the dance floor. This is great to see. This is why I like doing shows like this. It's connecting with other creatives. So hail to you, hail to the chat. So if you don't mind, let me give you my brief take on Batman, and then I would love for you guys to go tangential on certain things you want to talk about. So I made a video a couple of months ago calling this movie the Patman. Pattinson, the Pat man. I was ratioed to hell, 65% downvoted, which doesn't happen every day, but I appreciate the engagement. So thank you. And I was skeptical of Robert Pattinson's ability to play Batman. And I said, if I was wrong and I love the movie, I would make a video correcting it. Well, I didn't love the movie, but I didn't hate the movie, so I'm going to make a follow-up video to it, which I'm sure those lunatics will ratio as well. The reason, and here's the thing, Batman has a movie by Matt Reeves, broke my heart because I saw an absolute masterpiece. I did, and it's been a long time since I felt that way. I saw something that could have been... It could have been something with the ultimate rewatchability and a cult classic movie. I saw a masterpiece in there. The problem is there was about 30% filler, even in the first and second acts, that needed to be cut away. There was way too much time spent on just ordinary transition shots that didn't add to the story. And I could have forgiven that, but like we've all said, and Zaxx said in his video, it felt like the whole end scene with when they're in the garden and it's flooding and you have that one-dimensional, POC mayor. It just felt like somebody at the studio said, "Wait a minute, you're not hitting our ESG scores. We gotta check all these boxes, buddy. We're not going to release this movie." If someone would do a cut of that movie that removed 30% of the transition shots in the first and second act, and then removed the ending that didn't really ever end, I would say that Matt Reeves had made a masterpiece. As it stands, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. And the reason why is there's so much extraneous to this story. It diluted the absolute brilliance that was there. There were moments that I yelled in the theater. There were moments where I literally screamed, "Holy shit," because I couldn't believe what happened. But there was so much dead weight on this thing that it lost me. Now, am I being really unfair, guys? I mean, is that just, what do you think about what I just said?
I would agree with that. I think there is a diamond in this film, but there's a lot of extra fat that needs to be trimmed, like you say. There was a lot of establishing shots that could have been a lot cut down. There's a lot of when he's standing around, especially when he's in the crime scenes, that could have been condensed down. And then you've got things like you have like big expedition dumps that just come from the characters to move the plot along to the next points. The pacing was off for me, but there were positives as well. I absolutely loved what they did with Gotham. I thought this was a really nicely designed, really well executed look at the city. It's probably my favorite on-screen Gotham that we've seen, and I thought the music was brilliant as well. I really loved the soundtrack.
I don't think you're unfair in giving it a 6.5 salty. I mean, hell, in my review I gave it a 6. I think, and that's
You're toxic. You're toxic.
It really is unfortunate though, like you said, because it's so brilliantly done. Like the technical aspect, like it's just gushing, it's overflowing with talent. Like
Yes,
you
my
can
God, yeah.
see like the production design alone of how they created Gotham is just like it's
Yes.
nothing I've ever seen before.
Agreed.
And so and like Purple was saying, the soundtrack, but also the sound design. I was talking the other day on my stream about how you can feel Batman's
Oh, yeah.
feet, like, you know, in the
Mhm.
alleyway, because you can hear
Yeah.
the sound mixing of like the bass and like the thud, and it makes him more imposing. And just those little things about it was like,
Yeah.
this is an art piece. This is a film.
Yes, it
This is
is.
something that it's like much more than just a blockbuster movie. And you know, and so though we can recognize all those great things, it's just too much, like you said, filler that weighs it down to bring it down to like a six a 6 or a 7, excuse me. So I would, you know, I'd probably raise the scene that I'd probably give like a 10 out of 10, opening scene where
Yeah.
you're
Yes.
really, you feel the impact of how Batman utilizes fear.
It was
It's not just,
beautiful.
yeah,
It was
it's,
all of
sorry,
it.
go ahead.
No, in all of it. And you, I mean, there were shots when the bat signal is in the sky and you see those criminals pause. Every one of those criminals is set at a different angle that to me you would have seen in an old Batman comic book. Like it would have been drawn in that angle in that panel. And I saw that and I was like, holy shit, these people actually read the source material and they actually seem to care about it. And I was like, all right, I was intrigued, but you have my attention. And that stayed through probably the first 2 hours of the movie. And it was after that when I was like, okay, what kind of crazy crackhead just took over editing this film? Because it doesn't resemble the first 2 hours. It didn't.
What's wild is that I think if it were a 2 hour, you know, I'd actually probably say 2:15 would be like mwah, chef's kiss, you know, like just a perfect time frame. If they made it a 2 hour and 15 movie, took off that whole just butt end, that whole third act, and like once Riddler gets spoilers, once Riddler gets captured, they kind of end it there, and then they play off of like maybe Batman saving the wreckage of whatever had happened prior, and you find that Batman is learning how to hope and how to save Gotham and all this stuff. They can still do that in the third act, but if they were to cut it down to 2 hours or 2:15, I'm giving this movie like a 9 out of 10.
Oh, 100%.
I just feel like it was so bloated towards the end that it really screwed with the pacing, and it just made this a very meh type of film, unfortunately. But
It did. It fell apart definitely at the end. And if you consider what the Riddler actually wanted and what his goals were, it didn't make any sense that he was then targeting that mare, because technically she's everything on paper that he wanted.
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So why is she her target? I didn't understand it. And the idea of planting bombs around the city to bring down the seawall is a little bit ridiculous. And the whole idea that he had this much sway over people, you know, I think they mentioned in it that he's got 500 followers on this chat room that he has. And some people have had a really strong reaction to this. I think that maybe, you know, the filmmakers are having a little bit of a dig at, you know, kind of people like us. You know, I don't think that that's the case. I don't think that unless you're, you know, Joe Rogan, you don't have this kind of influence over people. I think that was a little bit silly, a little bit knee jerk.
Yeah, in to me, there was some messaging in who the followers of the Riddler were. They were obviously right wing, you know, libertarian, you know, second, you know, 2A, the usual trope, and that's what I mean. The rest of the movie didn't have that crap. It didn't. It was just a damn good Batman detective movie, something we have never seen before. And it harkened back to the film noir stuff with Bogart, you know, and you know, when we had the late horror show on a couple of weeks ago, it really reminded me of a living old time noir detective story that you were watching. And Max, you had talked about the acoustics and the sound mixing. That first scene of Batman coming down that old arched brick tunnel with the boots, the sound, that's the first time Batman truly just comes out of the darkness, which I thought was just this. And I said it on your show, Purple, where Batman comes out of the darkness and it takes him a while to come out of the darkness. And that tension building was genius. It was.
And I actually liked that the scene prior to that, like you were saying, where the bat signal is, and you're seeing the criminals and the kind of just thugs, like Gotham thugs, like fleeing from the scene. But there's that one moment where the dude who's spray painting, he drops the can and the can falls into this shadowy like doorway kind of hallway, and I got scared because I was like,
it was
I don't
awesome.
know. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what's in there. Is Batman in that shaded thing? Is there gonna be a monster in there? And that was what was so cool, is because he's utilizing the darkness, which is what he does, to strike fear in the hearts of criminals, because he can't be everywhere. But he utilizes the darkness. He utilizes the shadow, these things that, like the night. As he calls himself, I am the night. He utilizes that to his benefit to strike fear into the hearts of criminals. So that whole opening sequence was like you said, Zaxx, ripped straight from a comic book, and really did something that I don't think a lot of other Bat films have done, which is say he's not just a brawler. He knows how to utilize fear to his advantage, as he has like accepted fear himself, but.
Drink,
so
Max.
definitely a cool sequence. Thank you.
Hail again to my new wolf brother or sister. I think you're a brother, wolf brother. It's a $10 super chat. This is Blair to Blair. Thank you. It says, nice to see a Batman detective into not a woke mess. That's what I worried about. That's what I was worried about with Batman, with as I called it, with this Batman movie. And the marketing of this made it seem like it was going to be very SJW heavy, and it really wasn't. I mean, Purple said that. I mean, Zoe Kravitz was a capable character in this story. Now, we've talked about it a lot behind the scenes, all of us on this chat. Who is our Catwoman, But she worked in this. She did. Is she my favorite Catwoman? Absolutely not. She worked in this. I think she did a really good job up until probably the start of the third hour of the movie. And there was a line that she said, and that's part of the reason I lowered my score. It wasn't about the sentiment that she expressed, but it is very tired. It's the way that it was literally like holding up a sign they would have been holding up during the mostly peaceful protests last year in the middle of a 1940s detective movie. It literally snapped me right out of that damn story, and it took me a while to try and get back in. Now, you guys tell me what your experience of that was when that line got dropped. Am I just being a patriarchal, bitter old white guy? I mean, what do you think?
No, not at all. I was completely taken out of the film by that line, and it didn't fit. It wasn't needed. It seemed like it was just put there either to be contentious or to tick a box, to score a little bit of a woke point. But yeah, it was a very bizarre line to put in, and in context of the film as well, it was kind of insulting to who she said it to. So you've got no right to be, so sad that you lost your parents because you're rich.
Right.
What the hell?
Well, and that really, it took everyone out of the film, and it seems like that was added after. Like that did not feel like part of the rest of the movie to me at all. That was seemed like a reshoot. Oh, we didn't get enough in. Let's go make this blatantly obvious and just put this line in. To me, that's what it seemed like.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely felt like a committee thing, or like a decision that was made after the fact, like you were saying, because and granted, the tired phrase of white male privilege or whatnot. Even Jar Jar Abrams had said like stop. What was his thing that he posted on Instagram? Like, we need to stop white comfort. you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That kind of whole fragility and
Says the white guy.
right, yeah, you know, who has billions of dollars to his name or whatnot. With that being said, it's so tired now that I hear it and I tend to just I can go, okay, whatever. It's disingenuous. But in this film, like you guys were all saying, I was almost more mad at the line, not because of its sentiment, but because it took me out of Gotham and put me
Yeah.
back into reality. And I was so upset that something so little and something so inconsequential that didn't need to be said for that character. Because even if she said, you know, oh, we need to stop these corrupt assholes, I would have been like, yeah, you guys do need to stop these corrupt assholes. They're ruining everything.
Yeah.
And I would have been on her side. But then she had to add in the white, privileged, corrupt assholes. And it was just like, why? It was like you guys all have been saying tonight, which I echo the sentiment, is just it felt forced, it felt a bit much, and it pulled me out to where the next 30 minutes, which was pretty much the end of the film, I was trying to get back in. And by the time I got back into Gotham, the movie was gone. You know, it was
Yeah.
done.
I think you're being very generous. I think it was 45 minutes of them not ending the movie after that.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
And I'm not trying to be funny. It was literally like, what the hell is wrong with you? It's called cut. Like, stop. Just stop. You know, and it didn't stop. And when you thought it should stop, they like, oh, well, we remembered something else. And it's like, no, just stop. But you're right. That was the part that really pissed me off about that line. They had spent over 2 hours and how many millions of dollars at all of that amazing writing and cinematography and sound mixing and acting to immerse us in. That was the first movie I've been to in a long damn time where I was completely lost in it, and it broke my freaking heart to be hit from behind with a woke baseball bat. And that's why I give the movie the rating that I did. If that line wasn't in there, and if that movie would have ended 45 minutes earlier, I would say this is something I look forward to buying on Blu-ray and buying the soundtrack for. I really do. And again, I'm not a nice person, you know. So.
I think that you're right. This movie really did have an endpoint, and then a bunch of other stuff happened. And I think one of the keys that I didn't like that line so much, because really I was watching a film where these three orphans who were orphaned by the same person, you know, work together to find that out and then take that person out in the end. And then by saying that, now you're putting yourself apart from the other two guys, being Riddler and Batman, when Catwoman says that, because how much privilege did Riddler have? Like none. He was an orphan. He lived, he was nobody with nothing.
He had something to complain about, and the irony was, if I'm understanding how ESG scores work, because of the color of his skin, he doesn't have a point, because he still had.
He has
privilege.
glasses though. Does that help at all?
Is that a disability?
This is a dangerous road to go down to. It really is. But you're right, Max. You were going down the intersectional checklist of physical disability, gender, race, sexuality, religion. You know, it's all XY coordinates in a Excel intersectional spreadsheet. And I felt sorry for the Riddler. Like, I did. I thought the Riddler had a point. And
he did.
I was hoping that Batman would, like, something would have happened where they just didn't turn him into an incel because of the color of his skin. I'm firmly convinced that if the Riddler would have been any other gender or race, that possibly would have been the anti-hero of that movie. Because if you think about what we've seen in other deconstructions. Sorry, go ahead, Zaxx.
Oh, I was going to say, what was Catwoman trying to do? She was trying to kill Falcone, which is what he did. She brought a gun there. She was going to shoot him. So, but he's the villain.
Yeah, I think they were trying to show that she at least might have a redeemable quality about her, that like Batman was trying to say, you know, you're going to end up just like them or whatever, and that she was able to be saved. I don't know. It is kind of odd though, because you look at Joker, you know, the Joaquin Phoenix film, and you empathize with that villain, because he is a villain technically in that film, you know, but you kind of are on his side. And it kind of felt the same way with Riddler. Is like,
Agreed.
making, though he's an extremist, he's making the points that everyone wants to make, which is we need to stop corrupt people in
Right.
power.
And what Max, you
yeah.
said there is so important is empathy. You don't have to agree with everything someone does, but you can have empathy for them anyway.
You can sympathize. You can sympathize for them. Yeah. I mean, the Riddler's backstory to me, and it's not like he was going out and blowing up supermarkets or preschools. He was very targetedly going after those responsible for not just like jaywalking. We're talking horrifying things that there was no other way to remove them from a rotten system. And I don't know about you, but I was rooting for that to happen. So I don't know what that says about me,
In his own mind, he was as much a vigilante as Batman, because it gets to the point where he's saying, you and I, we're the same, we're on the same page here. And I think it's at that point that, Batman really kind of takes a step back and realizes this is a line that I've come very close to crossing.
I was going to ask, in Purple, you raised a really good question, and I'd like for you, all of you to answer this, but, Max, when you saw this movie, did you look at the Riddler and look at Batman and see that essentially they're 5 degrees of separation, if you think about it, like just taking that right turn instead of a left, Batman would have actually solved the same problems. He could solve the same problems, but Batman continually holds back from literally the brink of doing what the Riddler does.
If I think I'm answering the question you're asking, if I think I'm answering it correctly, I'll reference The Killing Joke, which is a graphic novel by Alan Moore, and at least I believe it's Alan Moore. But basically, the whole premise of the thing is Joker is trying to prove to Batman that it just takes one day, one little incident to flip that switch, because you and I are not much different. The only difference is, one of us does one thing and you do another. And if I'm answering this correctly, kind of what you're asking is if I saw that in the film, is that kind of what you're...
Yeah. Did you see that where it was literally that same Killing Joke analogy of it just takes like one right turn, one punch not pulled to realize that you can solve a problem a lot more simply than just handing them over to Commissioner Gordon?
Yeah, I mean, well, because you first get the example of that when they're in the interrogation room, and like Purple was expertly explaining, saying like, he's like, we were a team. You brought that guy into the light so that I could kill him. You're the one who did that. So thank you. Yeah. And Batman's like now realizing this is his second year doing this, and he's like, fuck. But and then the second,
you can say fuck, it's okay. Go ahead.
And then the second time he realizes it is when the incel, if you will, the 500 followers or whatever, he goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm vengeance." And Batman realizes, man, is this the path that I'm going to go down? Is this what I'm going to become? And so I think it does play to that a bit, because Killing Joke was such a inspiration, probably, at least that sentiment was probably a bit of an inspiration for what they wanted to prove, because Batman really can't become Batman without realizing his difference from these villains. But,
And go ahead, Purple, because I want to hear your insights on that too. I really do.
I was just going to say, for me, I think that ultimately the Riddler was probably not the best choice if this is the relationship they wanted to build between the two characters. Very early on in the film, I thought they were hinting towards a lesser known character, which is Tommy Elliot, who does get mentioned in the film, who is actually the villain Hush, who has a much closer relationship with Bruce Wayne, and much more similar in the comic books to what we had in the film. So I thought that they really missed out on using that character instead of using the Riddler, who really doesn't have that much of a connection to, if you're a comic book reader, to the character that Yes, he is, he uses traps, but he's not, he doesn't set out to punish people. He's not a psychopath in that sense. It's all about getting one up on Batman, proving that he is the most intelligent. It's a battle of wits. Rather than one of violence.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Let
You've
me
got
hit
us.
this super.
No, you got it.
Go
You
ahead.
got it.
Okay. This one is from our good friend Paul Wolfley. Hail to you, sir. It's a $2 super chat. Says, no, 10 missed meals turns people into animals. It's true. We've seen it over and over in conflicts around the world. You miss 3 days worth of food, and all bets are off. I've lived through a lot of natural disasters, weather related, a lot of hurricanes, and where power is out for weeks, and it's hot, and the water you can't drink, and people suddenly see that you have candles, and they come knocking on your door with something in their hand that isn't a bouquet of roses, and say, you need to give me some of those candles. And me being who I am, I'm holding something in my hand that's not a bouquet of roses either. So that's the whole thing is, what do we do when we're in those situations? And Paul Wolfley, forgive me if I'm misinterpreting your sentiment here, but I think that's it. What are you going to do? And I think Batman confronts that a lot and walks that line. And I think that is one of his, even though he is immortal, he is a human, that is one of his superpowers, is being able to reel it back from crossing that line.
Yes, one of the things that we don't see a lot of, especially Batman on the big screen, is compassion. Now we see it in the comics, we've seen it in the cartoons as well, but a big side of him is his humanity. Whereas you correctly said, Batman can't be everywhere, so he uses fear. Whereas Superman, he can technically get to different places in Metropolis and stop all of the crime. Batman can only focus on one thing at a time.
I think that was why I kind of left the film feeling a little disconnected from the character, because your main protagonist, you always want to have some sort of common ground, or you want something to relate to them with, not just skin color. You want to understand their plight, or you want to understand their cause, why they're fighting. And because we didn't really understand that until like the final 5 minutes of the film, you really didn't have that person that you were able to relate to and someone to see that compassion. I think in Critical Drinker's review, he had said that if we saw Bruce kind of show a little bit more human, or like humanistic qualities, and more empathetic qualities, compassion, patience, stuff like that, we would have been able to see that juxtaposition between him as Batman and him as Bruce. And because we didn't see those bits of levity between the two, you can't empathize with him. You can't connect with him as a protagonist. So you feel kind of disconnected. But yeah,
I agree. I agree. Go ahead, Purple.
I was just going to get, even with his closest advisor, he's technically a surrogate father figure, Alfred. You don't have that connection that you've seen in previous iterations of them. It was almost an antagonistic that they had, and I really wanted at one point for Andy Serkis just to slap the shit out of him.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
I mean, there was only so much
it
was self-loathing emo 90% of the time. And I think that Michael Michael Keaton's Batman, one thing that movie did really well was show how he was. Now, was it overplayed 80s style? Obviously. But him being the freewheeling billionaire playboy and living that lifestyle was a perfect juxtaposition to the Batman that we saw, who needed to go out and do other things. And I think Robert Pattinson was I think he was a pretty good Batman. I think he was a terrible Bruce Wayne. And that is part of the reason I scored this movie the way that it did. I mean, we didn't see anything that gave him any humanity. We just saw, I don't know, clinical depression and like untreated PTSD. That was how he played Batman. And there was nothing to, and like I said, I've had PTSD before. It's no joke. I don't say that lightly. You need something to balance that out. And Pattinson's Batman was darkness personified, but it was in a way where it was almost like it was stunted development. And I think that took away from the Batman he could have been, because we needed him to at least joke with Alfred, or, you know, have a clumsy date with a socialite or something like that to add some humanity to Pattinson's performance.
Yes. Or even just have some connection with, you know, Wayne Enterprises, something where he's out in the world. You know, you see him in the Batcave and he's writing in his journal, and you correctly said, you know, this is somebody who is deeply damaged.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys think that that was a casting direction, or sorry, like acting direction by, let me make sure I get this right, Matt Reeves? Do you think that
Christopher Walken.
Yes, yeah, sorry, Chris. Yeah. My mistake. Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Do we think that he's on set, you know, and he's going, okay, now for this funeral scene, I don't want you. I want you to be solemn. I don't want you to show any type of emotion. The mayor's going to come up to you, and you're feeling this way. Like, he's directing Rob. And do you think our you know, protagonist Rob probably said, okay, cool, I will listen to your acting direction and I will portray that on screen, and did that to a T? Or do you think this was Rob trying to say, this is how I envision Bruce? I'm not sure who has more say in that, whether the actor and his portrayal of the character, or the director and his directorial interference with the actor's portrayal or whatnot. Because I've heard both, but I'm not really sure. What do you guys think?
I think maybe it was a little bit more of Rob. He tends to be a little bit more of a kind of method actor, it seems, now that he's gotten away as hard as he can from the Twilight films. I mean, if you've seen any of these other films, they're quite out there, especially things like The Lighthouse, which really kind of cemented for me that he was a great actor.
100%.
I think that perhaps this was a little bit of, you know, the Reeves giving him direction, but I think this was definitely his take on the character. If you think back to interviews that he did, and I'm not too sure how, you know, how correct that these were, but he was saying, you know, I've got this vision for how I want him to be. I'm not going to work out. I don't want to be this big, bulked up Bruce Wayne Batman. So.
You took everything I was going to say, Purple, and you said it better than I could.
Sorry.
No. I'm complimenting you, seriously. And what I was going to say is, you remember when that article came out, and there was a big kerfuffle probably on a lot of the channels that we all watch on YouTube, and he said those things, and I still think it's a terrible thing to say. There were pictures of him looking, you know, like he was strung out, you know, and we didn't know then, but I think that was Pattinson telling us something. I think that was the Batman we were going to get. And I think, Purple, you're right, that he is a method actor. And I think when he was locked in his recent unfortunate medical thing that happened for 2 years, that you know, he really played that thing up. And you know, the other thing too is the unfortunate recent medical thing that happened, air quotes, in the last 2 years. Who knows how it rattled that dude's cage too? You know?
Yeah, good point.
And maybe some of this was him as a method actor, and I've known some of them, and they're batshit crazy, no pun intended. Maybe this was his way of channeling it out of himself. You know, maybe this is a way to put it out there.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. I wonder if it's how much of it was him trying to keep that mask on all the time and really make it clear he's the Batman all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, if you think back to how some of these celebrities, especially if you were watching them on Twitter, behaved when we were going through the happening, I can kind of see, you know, him rattling around this huge mansion, not knowing what to do with himself. Yes.
I don't mean to break the mood. I need to shout out one of my favorite guys that I love to talk music with. And Max, you and I need to talk music sometime. I want to talk modern folk with you, like City and Color. No fantasy, no woke stuff. Just let's talk about small indie bands that we love, and anybody's welcome to that one. That 70s rock fan did an amazing show with Purple talking about Elvis. Of course, Baz Luhrmann is putting that movie out. But
Mhm.
that 70s rock fan, I've had the pleasure of shaking this man's hand and watching him drink a pint while I drank iced tea because I had to drive back home. From Austin, good guy, great channel. Give a sub to that 70s rock fan, good guy. And I'm just going to say hail to you right back, brother. Thanks for so much for being here tonight. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, it's
Hail that
great to
70s
see you.
fan. Yeah. I wanted to mention something that you guys were talking about earlier real quick. There's a great comic book panel of the Lasso of Truth, and Wonder Woman is having all three of the Trinity hold it. And she holds on to the Lasso of Truth and she goes, I am Diana Prince or whatever, Superman says, I am Clark Kent or Kal-El. And Batman is holding on to it and he goes, I am Batman, and that's who he is. Like,
man.
His persona is technically Bruce. You know what I mean? Like, he
Yeah.
has to put on the nice guy, playboy. That's the mask. So I think you guys had brought it up earlier, and I thought that was such a great point. Is like he really wanted to make sure that Batman was who he was and not just the persona.
Yeah. But we needed that flip side to show, like you just said, Max, and I think that that's absolutely spot on. The mask is not the cowl. The mask is Bruce Wayne, and maybe that we could sit here and analyze Keaton and look at it that way, and we could even look at Nolan's Batman. But maybe you're right. Maybe there is, and this is what pisses me off about Matt Reeves' Batman, is this was a damn masterpiece, and it was surrounded by it was like a beautiful ribeye steak, and it had too much fat in it and not enough meat, but the meat that was there was succulent and beautiful and delicious.
Great metaphor.
And if you're a vegan and I offended you, I don't care.
Do you guys think that we will get a edited version? Do you think that there'll be like a fan edited version, or do you think that there will be a release where they, kind of trim the bits that we don't like? Because I think we talked about it the other day. There is supposedly an even longer version of this film. That this is the cut version that we got.
Talk about that, Purple, because you and I were in like your green room after your show. When was it? Last week, or was it this week? I don't even remember. But it's like we were talking about that, and it's so much longer than this one.
That's what I've heard. It's over 4 hours. So I'm not entirely sure what they've cut. I mean, there could be a whole other subplot that they've taken out at this point. It's
maybe they make the flood make sense.
Yes. See, I would love them to go down the route of No Man's Land. And they kind of touched on that with Dark Knight Rises, where Gotham gets cut off and it's its own kind of city, and everyone has to kind of fend for themselves. But I'm not sure if that's the way they're going to go. And then people are talking, well, maybe we're going to go towards the New 52 route, and it's going to be the Court of Owls.
No, God,
which
no, please.
I hope not. Yeah.
Let me shout out. I got to go back one, Zaxx, to a man of Manethrin. My brother, he has been on from probably close to the near beginning, just like Zaxx. Nathan, he was on last week. Hell of a good guy. He makes really great content on his own channel, A Man in Manethrin. He will be back with us next week, along with the Prophet of the Dragon, to talk about Wheel of Time. And I'm going to make the call now. At some point during this week, we are going to get another steaming nugget of marketing from Amazon related to the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. You heard it here first. You watch, we're going to get it. But hail to you, Nathan. Hail, Amanda Manethrin. Give him a sub. So I agree.
His link is in the chat.
Oh, yeah. And good night, Phoenix Fire 108 says good night. Good night to you. It's
good
great
night
to see you guys here. This is great. We've got this is interesting. We have a I wouldn't say a dissenting opinion, but we have a different opinion from Wumpa Trumpa. Pattinson's attitude has made it so I don't want to watch this movie. Well, that's how I felt. That's why I made the review that I did probably a month or two ago, and then a follow-up one because I had all the DC stands coming in and attacking me. I wasn't right, but I wasn't wrong. And that's a weird place to be, but I'm going to address both of those points and say why I think that. So, yeah, the attitude did not endear us to us about a year ago. yeah, I don't even work out for Batman. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
No, what do you guys think about that decision? Because you look at method actors and you look at Christian Bale and Joaquin Phoenix, who both did, Christian Bale, I forget which film it was, but Joaquin Phoenix, obviously, for the Joker. And these guys are probably 90 pounds soaking wet.
The Machinist, I think that was,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And extremely unhealthy. I mean, like, these guys were having
Yes.
to go to hospitals, and the doctor was telling them, "You are starving yourself. You must eat something." Even Joaquin was in an interview saying he would eat like a bologna sandwich or something for the day, and that was it for maybe a day or two to get that physique. So putting these guys through the ringer of unhealthy body type for this character. But then you have someone who's like, yeah, I'm not going to take the supplements. I'm not going to do the steroids. I'm not going to do the
Yeah.
Hollywood thing because it's unhealthy or because that's not how I want to portray the character or anything. At that point, does it seem like, because I think it seems selfish, but I think people would say, oh, well, it's unhealthy to take steroids. But I'm like, dude, it's unhealthy to starve yourself as well. So
Yeah.
who are you really doing this character act for? Because I don't know. What do you guys think about the juxtaposition between the two type of method acting, I guess, if you could call it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he made the wrong call not to at least attempt to bulk up a little bit. I wasn't expecting him to be the size of Ben Affleck because
Yeah.
that kind of took it to the extreme. And Robert Pattinson was he was in decent enough shape, but once you saw him without his shirt on, he doesn't have really defined muscles. He's very lean and stripped down, but it's really the suit that gives him the bulk.
Yeah.
And the whole point of Batman is he's supposed to be in peak physical condition. He's not a superhero in the sense that Aquaman and Superman and these other characters are. He is human, but he pushes his physical and his mental to the limit to do what he does.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing I got from Pattinson is I didn't see the Batman backstory that we all know from the comics of the years of training and meditating and martial arts experience and all that stuff. I didn't really get that from Pattinson. Now, maybe, I mean, I got the brawler, which I respect. I mean, I totally respect, but it seems like Reeves went a different direction, and I'm talking about Matt, not Christopher. Went a different direction. It's like, okay, I mean, fine, but his fighting style was, and I know people like to say it's year 2. Okay, I'll give him that. But if it was year 2, he still would have had different mixed martial arts more than brawling. He wouldn't have got shot in the chest like he did with a shotgun. And again, these are nice things to have discussions about as fans, of Batman. And I don't know. Max, you just shared something with us. So chat, we're going to drop you out just a little bit to focus on this.
This is Alex Ross portrayal of Bruce Wayne as he's kind of getting back from fighting crime. But I mean, yeah, this dude is beefy. You're looking at the scars, you're looking at the musculature. He is a big dude, and at like you have all said, at peak physical condition. So I love this rendition of him. I think probably Batfleck has gotten the closest to this just because of just how physically like Ben's probably what 6'4" or something, 6'3".
Yeah, he's a pretty tall guy.
Yeah. So just mass, like sheer mass alone, I think he really
shoulders
a great. Yeah, that too. The shoulders play a huge part in Batman.
But Pattinson didn't have shoulders. So
no,
at least with Bale, at least with Christian Bale, we see him training a lot.
True.
Like we see him working out. We see him trying to improve his fighting ability, and Pattinson doesn't do anything really.
Yeah, we don't really get to see the ninja aspect, like you were saying, Salty. Kind of that, like I would have never guessed that he had been trained by Ra's al Ghul up in the mountains, and then come back and had this new idea of his like fighting style and stuff. Like I would have just felt like he's a brawler. So
yeah. Let me shout out. It's Courtney's Fellowship of Oddballs. She is a wolf sister to the channel. Hail to you. It's great to see you. There's another YouTuber I want to work with. And Courtney, just please reach out to me on Twitter. I know you are all over the place, but I would love to talk about late 80s, 90s alternative rock and what it was like to be in that time. Because like we've talked about, I was a bartender bouncer in an alternative club, and I was seeing bands that everybody probably has a CD on their shelf of now, but nobody knew them back then. So I would love to flex. I would love to flex some of my alternative half-shaved head Cure T-shirt knowledge and cred with you, Courtney. So
Not
hail
Tila.
to you. No. Purple, you had something you wanted to say, and I want to make sure that you get a chance to say.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Just to go back to what we were talking about, the idea of the size of Batman. If you think back to the animated series, he had that defined look as well. The broad shoulders. He was designed that way as well. So there is in people's minds a specific look for Batman and Bruce Wayne, and Patterson was just a little bit too scrawny for me.
Yeah. I mean, I go back to when The Dark Knight Returns came out, and I remember that in the 80s and reading that, and even has, much older gray Batman, that dude was still ripped. I mean, and he still had shoulders like a linebacker, I mean, and that to me, that's a big dude who's got a lot of mass, but can still move fast and hit hard enough to, you swallow your teeth. I mean, that's what I thought Batman was. But I appreciate this take on Pattinson, Pattinson's take on Batman, I should say. Where do they go from here? That's the thing. And when I first reviewed this, they said that this was a standalone movie. This was the Pattinson Batman was not going to be part of the new DCEU, which includes J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates' Superman. So who are we going to get that's going to be Batman? Or are we just going to get Batgirl, which is going straight to HBO Max and has Michael Keaton, which is a whole other can of worms. I'm just saying, like, Warner Brothers, could just give me one damn Batman. Just have one Batman, one universe. See how that goes.
Yes, they don't seem to really know what they want to do with these characters. See, originally I thought that this was going to be a standalone. Now it seems that it's going to be a trilogy, and we've also got the spin-off shows as well. So we've got the Penguin show, which is coming, which is based all around him and presumably his rise to power. Apparently it takes place a year before the film that we've just seen. So that is interesting. I don't know whether the character is interesting enough to get most people's attention, but Colin Farrell was very charismatic as the character. And then we had what was supposed to have been the GCPD spin-off, which has now been retconned, and it's going to be more based on Arkham Asylum, which is curious. So are they really rushing to bring out more villains? And in this particular universe and setting, who can they actually use? Because some, like Clayface or Man-Bat, are just too outlandish. They wouldn't fit.
There's a character that just got introduced in comic books called Punchline, and she's kind of the Harley Quinn, the new Harley Quinn, if you will. She kind of looks like like her makeup is like that of a doll, and she's kind of like Joker's concubine girlfriend. It's kind of a weird dynamic, but people have just absolutely loved her in the comic books, and she was created like a year ago, maybe. So they may be able to play to that and start saying, oh, we could bring Punchline in because that's going to be kind of like a Harley Quinn, and we know how well Harley Quinn sells. But with everything that you're mentioning, Purple, it's I don't know. I don't know why we're getting so many Batman properties and not like the thing that everyone wants, which is like Batman in his prime with Nightwing and Red Hood and Huntress and like the Bat family and like, seeing the actual Bat, like a fully functional Bat cave and everything with all the gadgets. I don't know if they are too fearful of doing something like that, or if they're just trying to say we don't need to do something like that because we could do all these other properties like Arkham and Penguin and all this stuff and still get the Bat fans to watch and not have to necessarily include that. But I don't know.
Would it be content with Batman duct taped onto it, like Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, The Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings? Do you know what I mean?
For sure,
And I'm not trying to be that guy, but it's like, if we're gonna be brutally honest about it, I brought this chat up from the underground, and I want you guys to take a moment to think about this. Could you imagine Henry Cavill has Batman? Zaxx, you're awful quiet. Did you get eaten by wolves in Canada there? You stuck in a snowbank? What's going on there, Zaxx? What do you think about that? Oh my God, he was eaten by wolves.
Yikes. We'll send out a search party for him. We'll send out the bat signal.
Yeah, we'll send out the beer signal, Labatt's. We'll send out the Labatt signal for.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm good now.
Okay, there you go.
There you are. Cool.
Yeah. Hey. I was frozen. I was
going to say, were you like Captain America trapped into the ice there in the Great White North, eh?
It seems to happen every show, at least once, by accident, right, Salty?
No, I know. Yeah, it's not me doing anything to you. It's,
I know.
It's Mama Susan. No. But what do you think of this? The underground threw this out there. What do you think about Henry Cavill playing Batman?
I love it. Let's do it.
Let's go around the horn. I mean, purple.
I could see him playing the entire Justice League if he wanted to.
As long as he takes his shirt off, purple's in. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Play everybody. You can be Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Go for it. Go nuts. Can never have enough Henry Cavill.
Right.
But seriously, I think had he not played another, iconic role, I think, yes, he could have played a great Batman, but I will always see him as Superman.
He's definitely got the jowl, the jawline for a Batman. Like a good, because really Batman is just here, that's really, you're basing a lot of your face off of that, which is why I never understood Christian Bale, because he has kind of this odd weird mouth thing that which I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but it looks odd. So Henry definitely would have the portrait of a bat, of a Batman in the cowl. I think he would play a great Bruce Wayne. I would actually, if we do continue on with this Reeves universe, if we do see a Superman come into play later, because Superman does show up in the Hush storyline in the graphic novel, I hope that we don't get another, dark and gritty Superman. We don't need more dark and gritty. We're done. Okay. Dark and gritty is dead. If you must put Superman in anything, have him juxtapose Batman as the opposite in levity. You know what I mean? And I think they would play well to that, whether it is Henry or not. I think that would be ultimately like the best thing, but I could definitely see him doing a Batman in an alternate reality, which would be kind of fun.
I think Armie Hammer would have made a good Batman if he didn't eat chicks.
Yeah, if he wasn't a cannibal green-skinned.
Yeah.
Have you read some of those messages that I think you sent them over Instagram or something?
Oh yeah.
They are wild.
Yeah. Put another quarter in the Alex Jones was right tip jar. That's all I'm gonna.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, so check this out. And I think there's wisdom in this. This is from Anno Moss, says, let me put it to you like this. Chris Evans played the Human Torch, but was better as Captain America. Fair. Absolutely accurate. And nobody remembers the Human Torch. He was. I mean, the first Avenger is my favorite Marvel movie. I watch it all the time. I love that movie so much, and for a lot of reasons. I mean, I'm older, so I grew up watching World War II serials with John Wayne and Gung Ho and everything with my grandpa all the time, who fought. He was an army engineer in World War II, and it really resonated with me. And I think Cavill would have been a very interesting Batman instead of Affleck, but now Affleck is the Batman from that universe, and I think he was the right casting choice. So Purple, you wanted to talk about the Venom. And let's talk about that, because we are going on almost 3 hours, and I could go 3 hours more, but Purple, I'm pretty sure it's almost 5:00 in the morning where you are. So we should probably...
I'm having a blast. I think
we're having fun too. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it was the Underground that actually mentioned it, and we were talking in the green room before the show started, and we were banding back and forth the idea that this wasn't actually something like adrenaline that he injected himself with to get back up. It was actually venom. What do you guys think about that idea?
Yeah, when he's on the okay, so deep spoilers. It's when the movie should have ended, probably 20 minutes before this. He's on the catwalks. He has gotten his ass beat, and Batman is in a no-win situation. If he doesn't take whatever this crazy green stuff was that was in an ampule on his belt, Catwoman is going to die. And he takes this thing and then proceeds to absolutely become a raging homicidal maniac.
Yes, he essentially just roids out he loses control completely.
Yeah. And do you guys remember that? And I guess the question is, was that Venom or was that something else? I mean, it was in a green. I mean, I'm not going to claim to know enough of the lore to even have an educated opinion. It's just whatever that cat took, he's going to have one hell of a hangover in the morning. That's all I think about
I hope
that.
it's Venom. I hope that's what they do with it. That would be fantastic if that's what they did. It's not just some random adrenaline. It's something linked to a story.
That would be pretty it would be like, it really would show just how far the showrunners would go to do something like it's almost brilliant in that it would be an Easter egg in plain sight. You know what I mean? Like, because normally they try and put Easter eggs in the background, or they're like, oh, hey, the iceberg lounge, blah, blah, because it's a penguin, or from the comics or whatnot. But if this is Venom, like you said, Zaxx, I think it would be pretty cool, because it would, excuse me, it would just show that these guys really do care about some of the source material and they want to add it in. A lot of people are saying that, oh, it would be dumb, it would make no sense, and we don't want to hear that storyline. But I don't know. I think it would just bring more depth to it. If it's adrenaline, totally fine. Doesn't do anything for me. If it's Venom, I guess I would say it doesn't hurt my opinion if it is Venom or not. You know what I mean? Like, it would only make my opinion better, or my score better, if I realized, oh wow, they made this thing a certain way to carry a storyline into the second and third film.
Yeah, I would agree with that absolutely. I like the idea, and it's not something that's really been touched on with any of the other Batman films either. The idea that he's battling both villains and an addiction at the same time, even though this thing gives him the edge that he needs. It's slowly destroying him both physically and mentally. Also, it could be a way of bringing in Bane. It could be the case that he is already in Arkham, and this is something that he's confiscated from him, and maybe developed a slightly less addictive version. That's what he actually took. That's why he was able to come down much quicker when he realized that he was almost about to kill the guy on the catwalk.
Yeah, I think that it would be it would show that he's Batman year 2 and he's trying to find his way. So he's willing to sort of try things maybe a more experienced Batman would know better than to do.
Yeah, that was the thing. In Purple, we talked about it on your show, that in this movie, Batman took a hell of a lot of damage. He got hit with a shotgun blast. He misjudged a jump and using the batarang, and slammed into an underpass, probably at 70 miles an hour, which is when I yelled profanity and rose out of my seat.
Did
I went,
anybody else laugh at that?
I went, holy shit!
Just
And
a
I
bit,
was like,
just a
I was
bit.
looking for two pieces of Batman, the head and the shoulders over there, and the bat legs over there, because that I was like, he's dead. Like the dude's spine is like
Roll
everything
credits.
is shattered. Yeah, like the end. Yeah, this is a one shot from Christopher Reeve. No, from Matt Reeves. But he hit that damn thing, and I'm like, that was crazy.
I'm like I just laughed really hard because I'm now envisioning, like, because he lays there for a second because he's just like, because he rolls, you know, and then he lays there.
That's why he's dead.
And then I imagine it just like fading to black and the credits rolling, and I'm just like, oh my god, like that would be
and then a
hilarious,
cat
but-
comes up and starts eating him, and Batwoman appears. That would have been a good ending. At least it would have ended in around 2 hours. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, the movie did a good job of showing him not being perfect. It really did. But some of those hits that he took, I mean, I know he's a year 2 Batman, but man, you don't get up and walk away from some of that stuff. I mean, you
He had
just
a
don't.
guy
Unless,
explode in his face.
yeah. Well, yeah, there was a bomb that went off, and he was in the same room. I mean,
Phrasing purple.
Yeah, and that okay. I just remember what you said about
a different film.
I was gonna say, yeah, that was that. Oh, I'm not gonna make that joke. But
He
yeah, I
actually
mean,
kind of brings him closer, which I thought was so odd. Because he's like holding on to him, and then it was like 3, 2, 1, and he like almost like jolted forward. I don't know.
Yeah,
it was a little
yeah.
odd.
I mean, and you know, then we had Andy Serkis, who should have been a milkshake from the C4, and but I mean, okay, but I mean, it's a comic book movie, so why am I, you know, finding fault with those things? But no, I mean, it's just I like the fact that Batman wasn't perfect and he screwed up and he had fear. You guys remember, and I've been dying to talk about this. I think one of the best parts of the movie was Jeffrey Wright, and Jeffrey Wright was not just being Jeffrey Wright like he was in every other damn thing that he's ever been. He actually was Commissioner Gordon, which I thought it was a great performance added to the list from this movie. But when they're in that holding cell with a 20 or 30 cops,
oh my god, yes,
and Batman comes to, and he starts, and they're threatening him, and I'm like, he's not trapped in there with you. You're trapped in there with Batman, you know? And it's like he starts beating a bunch of guys' ass, and it's just like, I love that. And then when Commissioner Gordon says to you know, so I need a minute to talk to him, and then that whole whispering scene was so good. And then when he escapes from all those cops and is running and then uses the Batarang to fly past all of those flights of stairs in that Art Deco building and that circular rotunda, I was like, this is the Batman movie I've wanted. It was brilliant. You know,
that was such a silly scene. How many cops are there in Gotham? It's like, there shouldn't be any crime with the amount of cops they've got.
Yeah, there was like 1,000
cops. The Benny Hill scene to play.
No, but the great thing was it was absurd, right? But then he gets to the roof, and you guys ever watch the movie The Blues Brothers with all the cops that are chasing the Blues Brothers going up in the building? I kind of got a little of that vibe, like hot, 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 you know, when they're all chasing, you know, Jake and Elwood Blues. But when Batman gets to the top of the building, and it's this beautiful deco structure, and he gets to the edge, and you can see his eyes get huge, and he's like, holy shit, this is really high. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I could do this. And then he unzips the bat squirrel suit and jumps off the, you know, the bat flying squirrel thing. And then I love that. I loved
then opens a parachute under a bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, he opens a parachute under a bridge and then proceeds to shatter every one of his vertebrae in his back. He's now bat jello. That's
fine.
But I love that whole scene though. It was wonderful, and I thought that this is the superhero movie that I want. That's what pisses me off about this movie. And I know I'm talking a lot, but this was a goddamn this is a masterpiece, and it drowned in its own lack of editing. It really did.
What I liked about that scene, Salty, was that I'm looking at that in the theater thinking, that's not going to work. That wingsuit, he's going to fall to his death for sure. Like, that's the worst idea of all time, that wingsuit. It looked cheap, like a Halloween costume wingsuit.
Maybe after that was the point in the movie where the audience and the main character realized, okay, Batarang it is. No more of this squirrel suit. We're just doing Batarang from here on out, you know.
But
Um,
I mean, respect to Matt Reeves though, because there was so many elements of 70 movies, and we didn't even talk about it, like The French Connection, like Taxi Driver, like a lot of that gritty street level New York in decay feel to this. And Gotham was its own character.
Mhm.
I think that they didn't go far enough with Gotham. I think they could have spent a lot more time at the street level. I wanted to see more of Gotham because I think Gotham was just as much of a legitimate lead in this movie as Batman was. And I wanted to see more Gotham at the street level. I really did, because I think there were a lot of compelling stories that could have really drove Batman to a lot more. And I hope we get it. I do. I just hope they hire a qualified editor for the second movie.
Yeah, I think we could have done with a little less of him standing around in crime scenes holding envelopes and more actually, scenes out on the street. That would have worked so much better.
So what's our?
one of my-
Go ahead, Max. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick. One of my good friends had a great take. He didn't even see technically Riddler as the villain. He thought Gotham as a whole, as a poison, was technically the villain. And I thought that was kind of cool. I think I have his text right here. He said Gotham that actually felt like a cesspool. A young and angry Batman is one of the only good men still fighting against the void, which is Gotham, as well as trying to stop the unstoppable force of nature that is the corruption of Gotham. I thought that was a cool explanation of how he thought the villain was Gotham as a whole, which I would technically agree, because he's this young, innocent type of, well, not innocent, but young, naive Batman who is trying to just stop Gotham, like the cesspool of Gotham. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that was a kind of a cool thing, and this is just from a normie. He's never read a Batman comic in his life, but I thought it was kind of a cool, interesting take on it that maybe not necessarily didn't make Riddler out to be the bad guy, but Gotham as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and there is always the argument as well that what came first. Was it Batman that caused the supervillains, or was it the supervillains that caused the Batman? Because before that, obviously, it touched on it. This film as well. It was nothing but the crime families. It was the Carmines and the Falcones, and once they were taken out of the picture, then you got the supervillains in.
Did you guys see that? Point. Did you guys see that thing Yellow Flash dropped about people saying that this movie triggered them because it made them feel bad for living in their hellhole cesspool cities where there was rampant crime? And it had to do with the opening scene of where it was on the subway with that gang, and there was a gentleman who I guess was Asian that was going to be attacked by this gang, and it's when we're first introduced to Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And MSNBC, it's going to shock all of you, I know. MSNBC put out this article saying that it was a triggering thing for those who already are of that descent, living in the some of these rougher cities like New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles, Detroit. And apparently that it was, this movie was making them was reminding them of the horrors outside of their window every day. And I'm like, so that's the movie's problem that this is happening. And I don't even know where to go with this. I just saw this article and I'm literally at this point of, go ahead, Purple. You say it. You're going to say it better than I do.
But I thought we liked real world politics in our movies. I thought that was the point.
Dang, dropping truth bombs.
If
you don't like my politics, don't go see my Batman movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah. If you can blame, white people for and drop that line, I don't see why you can't have that in it as well.
It goes back to neo-Marxism. Which is, we're telling you what the world is, even though it's burning around you. It's like, it's, next year, what is it? It's the 5-year plan, another 5 years, utopia, But
It's
Yeah, I tell you what,
just around the corner. Yeah.
yeah, that video seems to be gone. Thank you, Zaxx. Yeah, that article was taken down, which is fascinating. Fascinating stuff. You guys, we have been going on 3.25 hours. I could go another at least 45 minutes, but I want to be respectful. So let's go ahead and give our recommendation. Well, I have a question. This is a quick one. Are you going to see this Batman movie in its current form again? And are you going to buy it on either digital, Blu-ray, or DVD? That's my question to everybody. And let's start with Zaxx this time, if he's not eaten by wolves in Canada.
No, I escaped the wolves. The bears, though, they're a bigger problem up here.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. Not the bears you're used to, Corey. Different kind of bears.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I've been in the Yukon, and I lived in the Pacific Northwest. I know all about bears, not the bears not the bears you roll with their
not the ones at the bar.
Glittery guy. Yeah.
No. So what I will see it on streaming. Like I have HBO, so I'll watch it when it goes on. I think it's 40 days, something like that, 45 days limit. I'll watch it again on there. Just because mostly I don't think it needs to be rewatched, but I did like some of the scenes, and I want to sort of watch it more to see like what they might have done and what might have been changed, rather than just enjoy the movie.
I think if I were to see this again or watch this again, it would be to do a study on it. It would be to actually break it down, understand the cinematography, understand the color palette, understand, like, see how things play out, watch the editing again. Like really, I would have to break it down and take like a full day to like watch it because of its just on its talent alone of what it presents to the viewer. But as enjoyment, I'll wait till the next one. So I probably won't watch it again in that regard, and then I definitely won't buy it on Blu-ray. I don't think it would be necessary to add to the collection, I guess, if I can get it on streaming, like Zaxx was saying.
Purple, what's your take?
Drink, Max.
I would watch it again, but I would watch it at home, so I've got the ability to pause, to go back if I think I've missed something, or if I think I've noticed something that we haven't picked up on, because I'm sure there's little tidbits and Easter eggs that maybe we haven't seen because there was a lot going on, especially in the first half of the film. I'm sure there's little bits that we haven't really noticed, perhaps. Would I watch it in the cinema again? Probably not. It is. I don't mind long films, but this one you really felt it. Whereas something like Doom, it didn't feel as long, but because you get taken out of the film, that kind of broke the magic, unfortunately. Had we not had that kind of break, I think it wouldn't have mattered how long the film was.
Yeah,
and I probably will get it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I'm kind of a mix of your all reactions. I'm not going to go see it again in the theater because my dog was going to kill me when I got home, and I paid. I had to spend 2 hours at the dog park after that, which I will see this if it's on streaming again, if it's part of HBO Max or whatever it is, and for the same reasons Max pointed out, and also what Purple just said. There's a tremendous amount of dense imagery, especially in the Riddler's apartment. They really captured what of someone who is obsessive compulsive to the point of neuroses, like Riddler was. And I think being able to slow some of those things down and look at it in 4K, maybe there's Easter eggs in there, because they put so much damn attention into so much of this movie, except when they didn't. And that's the part that I'm infuriated by. Really.
Yes, that in the Batcave, I'd like to have a closer look at, because I'm sure there's bits in there that I missed.
Yeah. So what is your recommendation to those people? We still have 20 people hanging out in chat because this is the Chad panel. Let's be honest about it. And would you recommend people to see Batman in the theater or wait for it to come out on streaming? What's the final word? And let's reverse this. Let's start with Purple this time.
I would say if you have managed to avoid spoilers so far, and you've got time and you don't mind spending it at the cinema, then go see it at the cinema, go see it at IMAX, because I think, especially like Max and Zaxx and yourself were saying, with the cinematography, with the music, with the sound effects, you will get the best version of this film that you could ask for. If you're not too fussed about that, then wait until it comes out on streaming. I think you'll enjoy it just as much at home, where you can pause and go get some snacks and have a bathroom break halfway through.
Yeah, right. I would actually say, as even though I gave the film a 6 out of 10, it was just because of my own feelings and how I couldn't relate to it on a certain level. So though I gave it a lower score, I still think this is a film to see in the theaters, especially because of the sound design and the soundtrack, like those big booming, like when Batman's about to come on the scene because of the.
It was incredible. It was
score,
incredible
yeah.
in the theater. I mean, the sound
Mhm.
mixing was outstanding in the theater.
Yeah.
It really was.
So for that alone, like, I definitely wouldn't consider it to be like a popcorn film where you're just kind of sitting back and just like, sipping drinks and maybe on your phone or something. Like, if I were to watch this in the movie theater again, I want to be locked in. So I would just say, if you have the patience to sit for 3 hours, absolutely go see this in the theater and you won't regret it. So
Mhm. Yeah.
For me, I would say definitely see it in the theater as opposed to waiting for it to come out. If you're gonna see it in the theater. And I saw it in an IMAX, and the sound was like, I'm gonna steal Max's line here, but it was mind blowing, and the whole theater is shaking.
Yes.
It's physically shaking when he's driving that Charger.
It was crazy.
It
When
really
he's
brings you
revving that
into it.
engine.
Oh my god!
kinda
We
like
never talked about that
results
scene.
forward,
That was
yeah.
that's just part of what pisses me off about this
Yeah.
movie. Is it was so perfect. The reveal of the Batmobile. It didn't
Mhm.
look like much in the shots that we've seen, but the
No,
way
but it's
it
something.
is revealed in this film, it's its own character. It's a co-star in this film. It really is.
It's the sound where your lungs are rattling, like it's crazy. And so for that reason, I would say see it in the theater if you can. It's an enjoyable movie to watch. It's a beautiful film. It's
Mostly
gorgeously shot. It looks amazing. The sound is great. Like, all of those aesthetic things are right. It's just after the fact, some of the story stuff doesn't quite stick the landing. But I still, if you're going to see it big.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Thomas Preston says he's seeing it in the theater in 2 weeks. I heard all the spoilers to this movie on Friday Night Tights. I did. And I went and saw it on Sunday anyway. And God is my witness. Everybody on this panel, I was keeping them updated. I let them know that
Yep.
I got out. I wanted to see what year it was, if the apes had taken over the planet. But it is worth seeing in the theater. And please come back to the chats, because I'd like to touch on Batman again for people who haven't seen it yet, or hit me on Twitter or Minds or wherever it is, or anybody on this panel, and show up. Let us know what you think about this. I mean, I made some pretty bold statements in saying that this was a masterpiece encased in a whole lot of, I don't know, useless things that should have been cut away. And I really mean it. And that's what breaks my heart about this movie. It really does. This could have been, it could have been so much more through the process of being so much less. That's the way I'm going to put it. And I go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it really does kind of get in its own way of being a really well done film. It's at its own detriment,
Yeah. And who knows if that unspecified medical event that lasted 2 years interrupted the zen of Matt Reeves and the ghost of Christopher Reeves. But Iron
The Reeves brothers, yeah.
yeah. Oh, the ghost and the ghost. Anyway, so Iron Wolf Run is he's not making our departure, our au revoir easy. He rolls out with a good question here. Says, belated question. Do you see a link between this film's battered Batman and this film's take on the core essence of the Batman? This is deep end of the pool stuff here. I'll answer this one first. It just because, I consider myself a normie Batman guy. I bought the graphic novel. I bought The Dark Knight Returns. I've of course read The Killing Joke. I read some of the White Knight series, but my Batman fandom kind of ended, around there. I've seen all the movies. I can judge it on that, but I'm not a deep lore guy as far as in the psyche of what Batman is. Do I see a link between the battered Batman and this? I see Pattinson's take on this is what I see. I would consider myself a semi-normie. I'm not a deep lore Batman guy. I'm not. I think that this was Pattinson's take on Batman. I think it was. I think, like I said, I don't think this was the tortured soul that I wanted to see of the Batman that I knew from the 80s and the early 90s. I think this was something else. But that's me, and that's one person's opinion. Who wants to jump on that?
I'll say I as someone who I guess would say, like, I'm right in the middle. I'm not a normie, but I'm not a Batman expert. I've read a ton of Batman books, and so I know who I would like to see in a film. And what I think they're setting this Batman up to be, like, in his hero's journey to where he could be, I think is actually would be something I would love, because Batman at his core cares about nothing else. He doesn't care about his life. He doesn't care about his wealth. He doesn't care about any of that. All he cares about is his crusade against the villains of Gotham. That is his sole purpose of existing. And so to see that kind of portrayed in this film, where he's like, I mean, he doesn't understand yet that Bruce is going to be an ally. Bruce Wayne is going to be an ally for him to play that role, because he's just so entranced with being Batman. I can see what they're trying to do, and if they play to that, I think it can be good. But overall, I would want to see my Batman just be like completely no regard for his own self, but unless it is concerning his, like I said, crusade, because that's essentially what it is. Which is why the bat and the cat thing will never work. It will absolutely never work, because Batman is too focused on his mission, and that is Gotham.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. The one thing that I did really like about this version of Batman is he is somebody who is finding himself. He's not entirely sure of, how he's going to go about it. He's only in his second year, and I think this is a really interesting take on it. And I agree with you what you say about the bat and the cat. And another scene that did make me laugh was right at the end, where he just kind of just blows her off, and she goes one way, he goes the other, and that did make me smile.
He's like, nah. Yeah, he just goes, nah.
Nah.
Yeah. So that was a good that was pretty funny. She goes, yeah, she says something. I forget the line exactly, but it is something to the extent of, we could run away, and the bat and the cat has a nice ring to it, and he's just like, nah. Just,
Deuces him out.
Yeah.
We're giving a troubled green mixed messages, and it's true. But that goes back to what from I'll speak for myself. This is a masterpiece encased in a whole lot of things that shouldn't be there, to the point where it goes from being a 9 to a 6.5 for me, because of the distracting lack of editing, and then I don't know, we can guess, we can surmise as to why it took 45 minutes for them to not actually end the movie and just keep layering slabs of butter on this thing. I don't have an explanation for it. But you're right. I enjoyed the fact that Batman's like, nah, you know, you do you, girl. And that was the bummer about this. I was really hoping that Zoe Kravitz would be more of a femme fatale, like Julie Newmar was, like Eartha Kitt, like Lee Merriweather, like Michelle Pfeiffer was. But of course, maybe in current climate, current ESG scores, you can't have a woman who derives her power from being attractive and sexual prowess. I don't know.
And she pulled off seductive very well, when she was in the club. But when she's Catwoman, she's very no nonsense character. I just felt it was very confusing. I don't know if anyone's seen the kind of, I suppose they're promotional pictures where she's wearing that mask and she's drinking milk. that mask that she's
the curdled milk.
The curdled milk. That mask looks so much better than the one she wore in the film.
I agree. I thought she was eating uncooked pancake batter, and I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?"
It's like cream cheese. What the hell is that?
Oh Lord!
It's funny, Purple, because you said Catwoman seductiveness, and I think she used it in a scene that, and maybe she didn't even mean to. Her character didn't even mean to, but because her mode and her way of surviving in her job is to be seductive with these people, is to give them a little bit of hope and then, a little bit of tease, and they tip her or whatever, and she goes on her way, or she gets inside information. But her character, when she puts on that wig and she goes into the iceberg lounge, she's a totally different person. She is like the way that she moves, the way that she presents herself to these politicians and stuff is very seductive to her strength, because she's getting information, she's getting all that stuff. And I think she actually does that with Batman. The first time that they kiss, I think she's actually, her nature is to get information or to get ahead. She, has that seductive nature to her. But then she ends up falling for him later. But I think initially she probably thought, maybe if I can use what I know, which is this kind of seduction side that I have, maybe I can understand him more. Maybe I can get some more information from him. But ultimately, he's very, he's not giving that up. So
yes, he's very closed off. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and it was almost a shift in dynamic then, because you don't really see the seductive side up until the end, where she tries to kind of get him over to her side, and he's like,
yeah. Yeah, I did. Go ahead.
They have their twin motorcycle ride, which was just lame.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was gonna say.
Oh no, I really didn't have anything to say because it was just kind of okay. Yeah, it's there.
I was waiting for them to play like some Journey or some like 80s band, don't know what it's got till it's gone. It's like, what the hell are you doing? I just you should have ended 20 minutes ago.
At least he wasn't sitting on the back of the bike behind her like James Bond.
Yeah.
or Tron too. But yeah. Oh, wait a minute. We got shots fired by this 70s Rocks fan. What about Steve Reeves over here? Enough with the Reeve jokes, you guys. Everybody knows Christopher Reeve was a good Superman. So, yeah. So there we go. We have done 3.5 hours and only covered probably 2 topics on the tear sheet that I put together. And nothing makes me happier than when that happens.
Which is par for the course.
Which is par for the course, but it's also nothing makes me happier. And Max, when you went down that road of that deep analytical academic paper that you're talking about related to Joan of Arc, you brought up a word that Zaxx and I have talked about quite a bit, and it is organic. And I'm going to say it again for those of you who have been drinking. Organic, orgasmic. It's organic. And the thing about you can't fake things that are organic. You can't manufacture. You can't use an algorithm to create the organic. The organic is spontaneous, extemporaneous, and it is born out of humanity. And that's why I love working with Purple. That's why I love working with Max. And that's why I sometimes like working with Zaxx too, is I love how these shows we just go. It's fun. I learned something from everybody on this panel. and from everyone in this chat every time we do this. So I want to say, first of all, hail to you. Thank you to the chat for showing up. Thank you for sticking with us for 3.5 hours. We still have 16 people here, and it is late on the East Coast, and it is time to run to Dick's Burgers in Seattle.
Ooh.
It's probably, I know, right? Dude, yeah. Just don't get shot going there now. That's why I left a long time ago. This has been so much fun, and I can't wait to do it again. But I just want to say thanks to everybody tonight. This has been a hell of a lot of fun, and I really appreciate it. So why don't we do this? Do you have anything parting to share on Batman for especially someone whose mind we have scrambled like a troubled green with our mixed messaging, or anyone else in chat related to Batman or anything else that we kind of touched on tonight?
I would say if you're on the fence about watching this film, I would say go do it. I think you will get something out of it. Now, whether you are looking for something that was like the MCU, that's not what you're going to get. This isn't a kid-friendly film, whereas we have had kid-friendly films with Batman in the past. This is very much an adult, very much a almost art house take on the character. But I really enjoyed that. I love to have something different, and this was different, and it surprised me, and I'm really glad that it did.
What's your take on that, Max?
Amen. Yeah, I want to echo her sentiments there. I think it really is an art house film. It's something I think everyone should at least watch once, just to kind of get to see Reeves's like intention, to see his visionary work here, and then from that point you can base and see if this is your Batman or not. I will before we dip out here, I wanted to share one more with you, Salty.
Oh, right on, man.
Maybe my favorite Reeves of all time, even predating Christopher Reeves. This is George Reeves, the OG Superman. So just one more Reeves for everyone to leave the night off. One of the best, if not the best, Superman,
dude,
besides
yeah.
Christopher. And I'm so thankful that he directed our Batman film that we just have been talking about this whole time. So.
I used to watch those serials with my grandpa, in the 70s, which somehow is almost 50 years ago. There's a lot of good stuff out there. There's a lot of good stuff that you may not know about. There's a lot of really good shows, and those old Batman shows, they were on TV. They're a little campy, and the effects will leave something to be desired. But like one of the reasons I had the late horror show on was you can flip over to them when this show is done, look for Superman serials, and you're going to hear some of the greatest stuff ever made. They did Superman, they did The Shadow, which is one of my favorites, and of course Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce doing Sherlock Holmes. Regardless of what they do to our entertainment, there's a legacy, there's a lot of stuff out there. I suggest that if you don't buy physical media, you find a way to download things from YouTube, which can be done very easily, and keep a physical copy of things. Because you never know, just never know how things are going to go. This is crazy. Purple Valkyrie says, I've received over 1,000 messages with Restreams chat today.
Hell yeah.
We have had 1,000
they were
chat messages tonight.
That's
crazy.
You
guys were awesome. So much fun.
The chat makes this. I say it every week. I'm nothing but a chimp with a mic and a thesaurus. That's about it. And you guys in chat drove us for 3.5 hours. We had 20 things written down on our topic sheet. We covered 2, and I wouldn't change it for the world. This has been a damn blast. So hail to you in the chat. Thank you for the supers. Thank you for so many things tonight. Let's go around the horn, and let's go ahead and start with Purple Valkyrie before we wind down. Tell me more about this true crime show. When can I see it? And tell me what else you got going on.
Yes, Massive thank you, guys. Had an absolute blast tonight. Huge thank you to the chat as always. You guys were on fire. Yes, so tomorrow, very exciting. We have got a new panel show that I'm really looking forward to. So it's going to be all about true crime. I think tomorrow is going to be more of an introduction. It's going to be going around the panel and talking about why we're interested in the topic. And then from there on, we are going to be delving into famous cases. So we're going to be talking serial killers. We're going to be talking people like Ted Bundy, the Black Dahlia, the Zodiac Killer. We're going to really get into the ins and outs and take a walk on the slightly darker side. I think it should be an interesting show.
I can't wait for that. I'm looking forward to that. I really am. And I can't wait till you get to Jeffrey Dahmer and his cookbook. That's gonna be
we will definitely be covering Dahmer, yes.
Oh, I can't wait to work with you again, Purple. You are a blast. I am so blessed to have you on this show. Thank you for showing up.
I'm the lucky one. Thank you, guys. Seriously.
Cheers. Max, MVP, the man, the myth, the legend. What do you got going on, brother? What do you got going on?
Oh man. Well, like I said before, I'm trying to gather my thoughts with that article I shared with us earlier, because it is very intellectual, very academic, driven and based. I really want to make sure that I speak intelligently about it and that I can accurately and intellectually portray my thoughts and my opinions on that. So I'll be working on that video. I do have a couple other videos just coming out this week later, like Thursday and Saturday, that are just like little fun comic ones. But yeah, I want to get more into intellectual stuff because it's fun to write that. And then it's fun to hear from other people, especially you guys that kind of influence a lot of my thoughts, because I gather like what the chat says, I gather what the panel says, and so many of you are so much more intellectual than I am, that I can bring a lot of that stuff into my video and kind of think about that. So I'll just be working on stuff like that and hopefully more Lord of the Rings stuff in the future. So
I can't wait to hear about your thoughts. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice. So the fact that you have the intellectual curiosity and then you're going after original source material and then formulating your own thoughts and then synthesizing other people's experience. That's what it's all about, man. And I can't wait to get your take on it. I really can't. And please do send me that article because I would love to read that. Because I'm a lunatic. I'm a lunatic. So, oh, speaking of lunatics, Zaxx, what is going on? How's it going? What do you got going on?
Firing off videos left and right, and I'm working on something right now to kind of look at the detective aspect of the Batman and some of the
beautiful
detective work that was in that film. Some that worked, some that didn't. And I'm going to be on Tutorials on Thursday, and talking about aliens. I'm excited for that, and I'm going to try to stalk Purple Valkyrie as much as possible in the meantime.
Oh my God. Max, you brought it up. Zaxx dropped a really good video talking about it was intuition. I think that's the word we're looking for. He intuited what Amazon was going to do with the Lord of the Rings of Power. And he sent it to me before he publicized it, and I literally stood up on the sofa and yelled, "Holy shit." Like, you're right. And I'm like, it's spot on. So please go subscribe to Zaxx. And again, I'm not a nice person. I wouldn't tell you to do that if I did. Do it. It's a good watch. It's a good watch. And then watch his Batman video from today. Also, there are friends of the channel that have been around tonight. Nick McCabe, who was on with us last week, great Australian author. Amanda Manethrin puts out great content. Prophet of the Dragon will be back with him next week. If I remember correctly, Purple will be out of pocket. She's going to be doing a walkabout, trying not to get eaten by polar bears. So we're going to bring in some other people to, and just in case she does, we're going to have some tryouts. So yeah.
It's always good just in case, but yes, I will be AWOL next week. So, but look forward to listening to it. You guys are going to have an amazing show.
This has been so much fun. So, Has Zaxx talked about? I'm going. Oh my god, I'm on a lot of shows this week. I think the Nerdporeal life form is on Thursday, right, Zaxx?
Mhm.
We're going to be talking about
That's right.
aliens from 1986. Last week we talked. It was 4 hours. We talked about the original Alien movies from 1979 for about 4 hours. Tomorrow night I'm on Baron Tag. How do I say it?
Baron
Ormantag show
Baron
tomorrow night.
Ormantag,
Yeah, please come and show up. And if it's just me and him, come and pop on, and we'll bring you on the show. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. He likes to run kind of the same thing that I do. It's kind of like loosey goosey stream of consciousness stuff, and then just see where it goes. And then of course Friday, we all hail the fandom and the fellowship, and we watch Friday Night Tights. So
Amen.
once again, thank you to Purple Valkyrie. Thank you to MVP Maxfield von Priestley. Thank you to my brother from another mother, Zaxx. And thank you so much to the chat. You guys literally were on fire tonight. Thank you all very much. We will be back next Tuesday. Also, for those of you who are members, I have already set up the members live stream. It will be next Monday at 5:30 Central. We went through multiple iterations trying to find out what worked for the most people. The link has been sent to those people who are Wolf brothers and sisters. If you'd like to join the channel, you will have access to those chats. We're going to go probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's where you get to ask me whatever you want. You make me juggle, gargle fire, do shots,
who your
whatever
favorite
you want
Reeves
to do.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you all about Christopher Reeve's Batman. You will love it. So, and I'll probably bring a couple other people on to help me and make fun of me because, that's why I do this show, is to be belittled and mocked 3.5 hours. So, oh my God, I love you guys. This is so fantastic. Once again, hail to the mods, hail to Punk Waddle, hail to everybody who showed up tonight. We will be back next week. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of the week. Good night, everybody.
Links in the chat, guys. Thanks.